Chapter 1027. So, that was why Tongning was back. That's why she did all that. As expected, the ex-boss of Superstar Media wasn't easy to deal with. However, he never expected Tongning to act so decisively. Wasn't it because she had Hai Rue in Beijing? Back when she was in England, it wasn't his territory. How come she wasn't this capable? He had never seen a woman that was better at pretending to be virtuous than Tongning. Afterwards, Han Xiuqia tried to contact Ma Weiwei again, but there was still no response. From the looks of it, it had something to do with Tongning's return. Since that was the case, what was he waiting for? He was going to deal with everything after returning to Beijing. Ma Weiwei had already been locked up in Superstar Media for an entire day and night. Her phone couldn't get through, and she couldn't contact the outside world. Her agency was probably going crazy with anxiety. So Ma Weiwei tried to negotiate with the bodyguards. Keeping me here isn't a solution. Are you going to wait for my agency to call the police? In reality, Tongning had already instructed the bodyguards. If Ma Weiwei wants to leave, you can let her go. But madam, what if she calls the police after she leaves? It's best if she has the energy to call the police right now, Tongning replied. News of S.A.J.'s incident had already spread. Although news of Ma Weiwei becoming the new boss of Superstar Media had already been released, the former caused a much stronger reaction than the latter. To be exact, this was a double bomb. Since Ma Weiwei wanted to be the boss of Superstar Media, then they were going to let her be. However, Tongning had instructed the bodyguards not to remind Ma Weiwei if she didn't request to be let go. So, as soon as Ma Weiwei requested to leave, the bodyguards immediately said, "You can leave now." Ma Weiwei looked at the bodyguards in shock. Obviously, she didn't believe that Tongning would let her go so easily. But in reality, Tongning didn't set up any traps for her. But, as soon as Ma Weiwei stepped out of Superstar Media, she was immediately surrounded by reporters. Ma Weiwei, how did you become the new boss of Superstar Media? Ma Weiwei S.A.J. has been detained by the police and something like this happened right after you took over Superstar Media. How are you feeling right now? Ma Weiwei. Ma Weiwei was so scared that her face turned pale. She immediately retreated back into the building. She knew Tongning didn't have good intentions for letting her go so easily. Now that she thought about it, she was right. After taking the elevator back to Superstar Media, Ma Weiwei immediately charged her phone and called Han Xiuqia. What happened? Where are you? Han Xiuqia asked. I've been surrounded by reporters. I can't get out of Superstar Media, Ma Weiwei replied angrily. What have you been doing? I just got my hands on Superstar Media. How did someone from S.A.J. get arrested? Wait for me to pick you up, Han Xiuqia instructed over the phone. It's best if you don't say anything. Don't go anywhere. Where else could Ma Weiwei go? He could only make a phone call to the agency to reassure them. However, the agency was also quite confused by Ma Weiwei's sudden acquisition of Superstar Media. If the S.A.J. incident hadn't happened, this would have been a great tipping point. What a pity. But now not only did Ma Weiwei not receive any benefits, she even had to cooperate with the police because of these 4 people. As a result, more news was bound to come out. Just like that, the matter was blown out of proportion. No one knew what had happened to Superstar Media. All they knew was that the group that Long Jia had previously groomed had been arrested by the police for using drugs. Moreover, how did Superstar Media's boss end up being the fake Ma Weiwei? The media was also interested in whether Long Jia would step out to provide an explanation. Especially when it came to Superstar Media. Why did it have to be Ma Weiwei with plastic surgery? Didn't Long Jia know about the relationship between Ma Weiwei and Tongning? The internet was in a mess, mainly because everything had happened too suddenly. That was why the netizens were so dumbfounded. Most importantly, what happened to Tongning? Could it be that not only Tongning, but also the agency that she created had mysteriously disappeared as well? This matter is getting suspicious everywhere. I'm not in a rush to take a side. Let's wait for the truth to be revealed first. I feel like there's going to be another big show. I hope the public won't be disappointed. Can't the entertainment industry be a little more positive? They fight openly and covertly every day and tear each other apart endlessly. The commenter above isn't right to say that. Wouldn't you feel bored without these fights? After looking at the comments, Tongning closed her computer. She had already turned the tables on the situation. Han Xiucha was now in the light and she was in the dark. No one knew how Superstar Media operated better than her. Yet, Han Xiucha actually wanted to steal it from Long Jie's hands? Did he really think that Superstar Media had no one capable? Ij was single-handedly trained by Long Jie. What if the police also try to call Long Jie in? Lin Qian asked worriedly as she sat beside Tongning. Don't forget who introduced these four to Long Jie. The relationship between Han Xiucha and Ma Weiwei alone is enough for the public to come up with a big show. Did you think they would care if Long Jie knew about it or not? I've already asked someone to spread the news. Those two should just wait for trouble to arrive. Tongning said as she sat on the sofa. Tongning sat on the sofa. She had no intention of wasting a single soldier. She was going to wait until the two were done with their act before stepping out to clarify the ownership of Superstar Media. As a result, it didn't take long before rumors of Han Xiucha and Ma Weiwei began to spread. Have you guys heard? As for the S.A.J. group, they were Han Xiucha's juniors. Han Xiucha directly introduced them to Long Jie and set up a trap. After Long Jie had trained them well, he told Long Jie that there was something wrong with them. He then threatened Long Jie that if she didn't give up on Superstar Media, he would reveal this to the public. As for why Ma Weiwei became the new boss, it's obvious that she's in an affair with Han Xiucha. On the other hand, the reason why Han Xiucha wanted to deal with Superstar Media was because Ma Weiwei was a fake Tongning. Han Xiucha and Ma Weiwei must have planned to bully Superstar Media from the start, right? That's right. When a jerk and a cheap woman work together, they are indeed invincible. This was all information that was gathered online, but it was close to the truth. So why? It was because Tongning had released the truth. Sure enough, scumbags are bound to suffer. I heard that when those people went to film a show, they were even caught red-handed. That's why the production team terminated their contracts with them. If that's the case, then the production team must have a strong sense of morality. But does Long Jie know that they're attracting fans? Chapter 1028. This was probably the question that everyone wanted to know the answer to. Did Long Jie also know about this? Yet she still chose to protect them. According to the latest news I received, Long Jie reported them. Didn't you guys hear? The police only found out because someone reported them. When I received the news, I immediately told them that Long Jie was the one who reported them. Plus, the production team also revealed to the reporters that Long Jie only found out about the incident afterwards, so she ignored them. How sad and disappointing. If that's the case, it does make sense. This was the reason why Tongning reported them at the hotel. She wanted to clear Long Jie's name and create the conditions for her to do so. As a result, whether it was S.A.J. or Superstar Media, it was all Ma Weiwei and Han Xiucha's fault. Not only was Long Jie innocent, but she was also the biggest victim. Although no one came out to admit that this was the cause and effect of the incident, both inside and outside of the industry, the more they made it up, the more believable it was. Meanwhile, Han Xiucha's brother and Ma Weiwei's agency quickly stepped out to clarify. They claimed that the two weren't familiar with each other, so it was impossible for them to be having an affair. So they warned the public not to make wild guesses. As for Han Xiucha and Ma Weiwei, they were currently at the police station because they were currently being investigated. The four of them have already confessed that they've been covering up for each other and doing shady things since university. So, Mr. Han, did you know about this beforehand? The police officer asked Han Xiucha with a complicated expression. Although they've simply been sent to rehab, they can no longer be public figures. Since you and Miss Ma are in charge of this agency, you should give the public an explanation. This group was single-handedly created by Long Man. She also knows about this matter. Han Xiucha said without a hint of embarrassment. She single-handedly created these artists. Does that mean I can sue her and ask for compensation? Mr. Han, it's important to have a conscience. The police officer sneered as he looked at Han Xiucha. The police officer looked at Han Xiucha and sneered. As the person in charge, Miss Long has a bottom line and principles. After all, Miss Long was the one who made the call to report the incident, and she's already recorded her statement at the police station. So we are well aware of the entire situation. Don't you think it's too shameless of you to bite back like this? Under the scrutiny of the police, Han Xiuqia pulled Ma Weiwei to her feet. Let's go. But what should we do now? Ma Weiwei panicked. Tongning has set up such a big trap for us as soon as she's returned. How are we supposed to fight back? Let's leave this place first. Han Xiuqia calmly comforted Ma Weiwei. I dragged you into this mess, so I will handle it. Go home and wait for my news. Han Xiuqia. It wasn't easy for me to get to where I am today. I don't want to lose everything, Ma Weiwei said seriously as she looked at Han Xiuqia. I know. Han Xiuqia nodded his head and reminded Ma Weiwei to leave through the back door. He would deal with the reporters at the front door. Seeing that the police station was filled with reporters, Han Xiuqia walked out without a trace of fear. I'm sorry everyone. The rumors online are not true. Plus, I'm not familiar with Ma Weiwei. As for the incident with S.A.J., I've only just found out about it, so I'm sorry that I didn't set a good example for everyone. If you're not familiar with Ma Weiwei, why did you give her shares in Hai Rui? Exactly. Answer me. Because I wanted to use Ma Weiwei and Tongning's relationship to gain exposure for superstar media. Although my method wasn't right, my relationship with Ma Weiwei isn't as bad as everyone thinks. If you don't believe me, you can investigate it yourself. Ma Weiwei has nothing to do with this matter. I hope everyone will stop clinging to her. As for the things that are circulating on the internet, have you ever thought about why? The entertainment industry isn't a place where you can simply find out what you want to know. Let me tell you, it's all because Tongning has returned. As soon as everyone heard this, they were stunned. Tongning had returned. But what did this have to do with Tongning? Think about the relationship between her and Ma Weiwei, and you'll know that I'm not just spouting nonsense. So, did Han Xiuqia mean that Tongning was deliberately manipulating the rumors? That can't be. We haven't seen Tongning in a long time. She can't be back just because you say she's back. The reporters chased after Han Xiuqia. Just wait and see. Tongning is going to make Ma Weiwei suffer even more, because Ma Weiwei had plastic surgery. I've never seen a woman as evil as Tongning. After saying this, Han Xiuqia strode off. Plus, because of Han Xiuqia's explanation, the entire incident became a Luoxing incident. After all, whether it was Long Jie or Tongning, these were all rumors that no one had ever confirmed. But at least Han Xiuqia gave the media an explanation. This Han Xiuqia sure knows how to lie through his teeth. He sure has a strong mentality. Lin Qian laughed after watching Han Xiuqia's interview. After watching Han Xiuqia's interview, Lin Qian let out a laugh and said, "It turns out a manhua artist knows how to redirect the blame." He's indeed smart, Tongning replied as she looked at Lin Qian. What should we do now? If I try to steal superstar media from him, I'll be proving that I'm the evil woman he's been talking about, Tongning laughed. He'll even use all sorts of tricks to smear my name. You were his target from the start. He wanted to trick you into appearing and make you angry. Plus, with his warning to the media, if we try to deal with Ma Weiwei again, we'll be walking right into his trap. Right now we're in an even more passive position. Most importantly, the media are currently trying to confirm whether you've returned to China or not. Han Xiuqia will also find a way to force you to admit that you've returned to Beijing. A shameless person is indeed invincible. It wasn't that Tongning hadn't come across people like this in the past, but none of them made her feel as disgusted as the one she was experiencing right now. Han Xiuqia stole superstar media, hurt Long Jie, and now he was biting back at her. This Han Xiuqia was indeed someone that made people want to win. As a result, when President Mo offered to help, Tongning completely rejected him. I promise you that I will defeat this piece of trash without ever seeing him again. Otherwise, how am I supposed to survive in the industry? Chapter 1029. Mo Ting did not say a word. It was a silent agreement that he wouldn't get involved. Tongning cared about his feelings more than anyone else, so she promised not to see Han Xiuqia. Not only did she look down on him, she also didn't want Mo Ting to feel the slightest bit unhappy. Even for Mo Ting, Han Xiucha wasn't a worthy opponent. Afterwards, Tongning instructed Long Jie, secretly invite Ma Weiwei's manager out for a cup of tea. I'm sure we'll be able to get some information. Since Han Xiucha gave Superstar Media to Ma Weiwei, there's no way they wouldn't meet in private. But Ma Weiwei's manager might not necessarily listen to us. Follow my instructions and have a chat outside, Tongning said confidently. In the industry, it was hard not to be tactful with a conversation. Long Jie was well aware of this. I understand. Out of everything that happened between Han Xiucha and Ma Weiwei, the person most likely to be in trouble was Ma Weiwei's manager. This was the reason why Tongning asked Long Jie to contact her as soon as possible. Meanwhile, the media were all guessing whether Tongning had returned to Beijing or not. They wondered if Han Xiucha was right and Tongning had planned everything behind the scenes. At the same time, Long Jie managed to find out the contact details of Ma Weiwei's manager through a small channel. In fact, she carefully contacted her manager. What did it mean to be contacted by Long Jie? On the surface, Ma Weiwei's manager appeared like a naive person. But she was well aware of Long Jie's relationship with Tongning and Hai Rui. Although she didn't know what Long Jie wanted to do, she was just a manager. How could she go up against the big bosses of the industry? So she hid it from Ma Weiwei and went to a meeting on her own to meet up with Long Jie. The two met up at the convenience store that Ma Weiwei often ate at. At this time, Long Jie was completely disguised, so no one could see through her disguise. Even Ma Weiwei's manager took a while to recognize her. Long Jie, the public is currently in such an ugly situation. Isn't it a bit inappropriate for us to meet up? There's nothing inappropriate about it, Long Jie laughed. Have you met Han Xiucha and Ma Weiwei? Ma Weiwei's manager obviously didn't expect Long Jie to get straight to the point without any pleasantries. So she also fell silent and did not say a word. But in this aspect, Long Jie was very sharp. You should know very well in your heart that Ma Weiwei's path will not go very far to begin with. It is only a matter of time before she is replaced. Plus, the only reason why Hai Rui hasn't made a move yet is because Tongning wants to personally deal with Ma Weiwei. In fact, she has no intention of letting her live. If you're smart, you should know how to weigh the pros and cons. The entertainment industry is a realistic industry. I'm sure you know what's best for us. Ma Weiwei's manager understood what Long Jie was trying to say. I know, if I ask you to tell me everything, I would be betraying you. It's not fair. So you don't need to provide me with evidence or anything else. All you need to do is tell me when they met, and we will arrange a perfect coincidence. Long Jie tried to tempt Ma Weiwei's manager. You know the truth. Han Xiucha dragged you down with him. Now that things have gotten so ugly, I'm sure you want things to end in a better way, don't you? To be honest, I'm in a difficult position. Ma Weiwei's manager put away her innocent expression and lit a cigarette in front of Long Jie. These days, pretending to be smart in front of an artist will only get you bullied. It's quite tiring. When it comes to Superstar Media, I was happy to see it happen. After all, we are on opposing sides, so I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. However, what you said makes some sense. After all, Ma Weiwei's manager had a deep fear of Tongning. As long as you don't betray Weiwei, I can provide you with evidence. But you can only do it once, Ma Weiwei's manager requested. Whether you find it or not, you can only do it once. Long Jie looked at Ma Weiwei's manager and nodded her head. Also, even if you find evidence, you can't do anything to Weiwei. You need to promise me this. As long as Ma Weiwei doesn't do anything too extreme, everything she's done since her debut is enough for Hai Rui to blacklist her 100 times over. But isn't she still doing fine? Long Jie warned. Ma Weiwei's manager looked deeply into Long Jie's eyes. We need to forget about today's meeting. Long Jie wasn't going to give Ma Weiwei's manager any benefits, but she understood that if she owed Long Jie a favor, it would be easier for her to get anything she wanted from now on. It wasn't anyone else, it was Long Jie who owed her. Even if Ma Weiwei ended up being destroyed, Ma Weiwei would still be able to protect herself. This was equivalent to a golden token of immunity. Afterwards, Long Jie used the keywords that Ma Weiwei's manager provided and contacted people that lived nearby to see if they had a chance of capturing a video of the meeting. Normally, residents wouldn't have such a thing. But small businesses weren't necessarily the same. Although it took a bit of time, it was at least fruitful. Was Han Xiuqia trying his best to deny that he had anything to do with Ma Weiwei? It didn't matter. After all, there was bound to be evidence to slap him in the face. As for the second piece of evidence, it was herself. When Han Xiuqia first introduced a few members of S.A.J. to her, he already knew that they had a criminal record and used it to threaten her. This was something that Han Xiuqia could never erase. As long as something was done in the past, it would definitely leave a mark. Even if Long Jie went out and started a fight, she would still be able to stand her ground. But Han Xiuqia's biggest weakness was his mental illness. Because he lacked a mother's care, he developed a twisted and perverted view of women. Although Tongning didn't want to use such despicable methods to attack him, she knew that he needed to be a human in order to be respected. Didn't Han Xiuqia want the media to know that she had returned to China? Since this was the truth, she was going to let him take advantage of it. The most important thing about Tongning was that if something had happened, then it had happened. She would never try to cover it up or deny it. Every plan she made had to be based on the truth. That way, it would be able to withstand the scrutiny of others. Otherwise, in the heavily monitored entertainment industry, someone was bound to find out about something that no one knew about. When that happened, wouldn't it hurt even more to be slapped in the face? At this time, Mo Ting said to Tongning, "You weren't on your phone during the day, so Jones contacted me. He's planning to take his wife to Beijing for a vacation. As his disciple, you should spend some time with him. As your first stop after retirement, you can't let Jones feel like he made the wrong choice." After hearing this, Tongning looked at Mo Ting in seriousness. "President Mo, why do I feel like you were the one that contacted Jones?" Chapter 1030. But I don't want the old man to get involved in the messy things that are happening in the industry. Mo Ting smiled and raised his hands in surrender. "I swear, Jones was the one who asked. I didn't contact him." Tongning continued to look at him and smiled. "Since that's the case, make sure you make the necessary arrangements. Make sure the old man can enjoy himself and temporarily suppress Han Xiuqia's matter. I don't want him to think that I'm doing badly in Beijing." "So, you also know that you're doing badly?" Mo Ting wrapped his arm around Tongning and let out a deep sigh as he leaned against her shoulder. "You don't want me to get involved, but everyone in the family is worried about you. Yaner knows how to do that too? Mother and daughter are connected. What do you think?" Tongning couldn't help but laugh. "That's enough. This isn't a big deal. If I really can't handle it, I will definitely cry and beg you to help me." Tongning had never expected that Jones would come to Beijing. She didn't want Jones and her and Xiao Sen's film to be shrouded in dirty rumors. So she tried her best to avoid Han Xiuqia. At least, it wouldn't be too late to make a move after Jones left. Because of this, she arranged Jones's itinerary and ensured that he wouldn't be disturbed by the media. She hoped to leave a good impression on Jones. At least, she hoped that her country would be great and not terrible. The next day, Tongning told Long Jie that Jones would be coming to Beijing. Long Jie didn't mind at all. In fact, she appeared extremely infatuated. After all, he was going to meet the father of sci-fi. Oh God. An opportunity like this didn't come by every day. Especially since Jones had already retired. It was even more unlikely that she would ever get to see this great man again. "I'll leave the matter of dealing with Han Xiuqia to you for the next few days. Don't worry." Long Jie made an okay gesture. The entertainment industry was a blur, but it wasn't a problem for her to buy some time. Because of this, Long Jie and Mo Ting personally went to the airport to welcome Jones and his wife. It had only been a short time since they last saw each other, but Jones still looked as energetic as ever. Meanwhile, his wife was extremely elegant and treated Tongning like she was her own daughter. "Jones has always told me that he has a smart student. I've finally met her today." Tongning was extremely obedient in front of Mrs. Jones. Soon, the four of them arrived at a hotel in Beijing for lunch. However, during lunch, Jones put down his knife and fork and said to Tongning, "I heard from Ting that you ran into some trouble after returning to China. Is that true?" Tongning was stunned as she glared at Mo Ting. He then explained to Jones, She doesn't want my help. She's extremely stubborn. This is how it is in this ostentatious circle. There will always be people who will do anything to pursue benefits. I understand you, my little disciple. You are not a vicious person. You have always been defending yourself. But this time, I want to stand on Ting's side. You are one of the few people in the industry that can make use of resources. Since that's the case, why not make use of it? Do you remember? When I was in America, I left you a gift, but you didn't accept it. If it was someone else, they would have already entered the American directing circle. But you didn't. You returned to your country, and you wanted to fulfill your original dream. Child, you are still too kind. Since I've accepted you as my disciple, that means you can brag to the world about who my teacher is. Don't tell me you can't show off to someone like me. Did you think I would mind if you did this? I'm looking forward to you doing this because it will help you gain a lot of protection. We're not doing this for vanity. We're doing this so that we can focus more on creating films, instead of dealing with petty and despicable people. You need to remember, our time is very precious. After hearing this, Tongning was deeply moved. Every industry has its own rules. You are simply using the rules to protect yourself. What's wrong with that? Tongning did not say a word, but Mo Ting laughed. Jones, this is what makes you so charming. She insists on being herself. But if you do this, your family and friends that love you won't be able to share your worries. When your loved ones aren't needed, they won't receive your acknowledgement. So, we actually need to be needed by you. As he said this, Jones took the opportunity to look at Mo Ting. After all, he was saying it for the two of them to hear. So let the Beijing reporters do what they want. I can give them a smile, it's no problem. After all, Jones was used to being in front of the camera, so he was very easygoing and natural. As for his wife, she looked at him with admiration. Indeed, Jones truly understood a person's life. Xiaoning, Mrs. Jones said in Chinese. Mrs. Jones said in Chinese, listen to Jones, he's right. If you guys are already attacking me like this, what reason do I have to reject? I can reject kindness and I can reject help, but I can't reject love. A heartwarming lunch ended with their conversation. Then when they left the hotel, it was a lot more normal than before. There were fewer bodyguards. The reporters smelled the scent of gossip, so they quickly caught up to them. However, the scene that was spread out was a little strange. As Mo Ting returned to Hai Rui soon after, Tongning was left to accompany the Jones couple. Tongning is indeed back in China, but she's with a foreigner. Did Tongning cheat on him? Tongning can't possibly cheat on him. She's doing it so openly, how does it look like she's cheating? Tongning has indeed returned. Does that mean Han Xiucha was telling the truth? Did Tongning plan everything behind the scenes? Tongning has appeared at the Beijing Museum of Film again. Hurry and follow her. All of a sudden, the reporters went crazy as they swarmed towards Tongning with the intention of trapping her. No matter what, Tongning was going to give them an explanation. What had happened to Superstar Media and whether she had framed Han Xiucha and Ma Weiwei. At this time, Han Xiucha also heard about Tongning's appearance. He originally thought that Tongning would go to the US to lie low to prove that she hadn't returned. But she actually appeared in front of him. Didn't she know that he was forcing her to show herself? Longjia knew that Tongning was meeting with Jones, so she wasn't worried at all. She simply never expected the incident to blow up. After all, Tongning was meeting with the father of sci-fi, a foreigner who cheated on him and seduced a rich businessman. After they realized who she was, wouldn't they pass out from shock? The trash, Han Xiucha, was probably waiting to diss Tongning. Chapter 1031. Tongning had returned to China. Was she about to create a new joke, just like the farce she caused in the UK and the errand she caused in the US? How many people in the industry were waiting to ridicule her? Although she was married to the big boss of the entertainment industry, it didn't mean that she was respected like Mo Ting. After experiencing so much and going through so many hardships, Tongning was already a has-been in the eyes of the media. But she refused to admit that she was a has-been. Instead, she continued to struggle and receive disdain from others before she would accept her old age. Look, Superstar Media was about to be destroyed by her. Wasn't this Tongning's success and Tongning's failure? Most importantly, she used to pretend to be strong, but now, she had to kneel down and lick the US's boots. Didn't she look down on Hollywood? And now, she was forced to serve a wealthy businessman. Once a person falls, they're slapping themselves in the face. Look at Tongning. She's doing everything she can to regain her popularity. But how is that possible? There are new artists debuting every day and they're all young, beautiful and cooperative. Who would care about a has-been like her? If you don't care, why did you take photos of her as soon as possible? She can only rely on scandals like this to attract attention. She's so shameless. She's President Mo's wife, yet she doesn't know how to behave. All in all, Tongning's every move, every word, or rather every time someone mentioned Tongning, the media's reaction was extremely intense. Even though they said that she was a has-been, as soon as they heard news of Tongning, they immediately rushed over. Did they say that Tongning was a slap in the face? Wasn't she being too funny? All in all, because someone had leaked the news, the outside of the Beijing Film Museum was already surrounded by the media. All they wanted was to get their hands on information about Tongning as soon as possible. At this moment, Han Xiucha was browsing through his messages at home. Although he wanted to show himself and see what Tongning was up to, his relationship with Tongning was too sensitive. If he showed himself, it would be too obvious. If Tongning wanted to bite back at him, it would be too easy for her to do so. Ma Weiwei was the same. She stayed at home and watched TV, even though her manager looked at her with a complicated expression. Weiwei, it's almost time to go. We need to catch up on our next job. Do you think Tongning has fallen so far? The manager froze for a moment before replying. Times have changed. If we really put you and Tongning together, the company would definitely choose you and not Tongning. Ma Weiwei seemed to be pleased by her manager's words as she stood up excitedly. Although I really want to watch a good show, I have no choice. Who told me to work? Ever since Han Xiucha revealed to the media that Tongning was trying to frame me, he really helped me a lot. At least, Tongning doesn't dare to make a move on me in the open anymore. Han Xiucha was indeed smart. Unfortunately, he didn't use it on the right path. Luckily, he didn't use it against us. The agent replied again. Tongning won't be a match for me very soon. Just wait and see. This time, Ma Weiwei's manager did not say a word. If Tongning was really like what she appeared to be, she wouldn't be the same Tongning that had debuted 7 to 8 years ago, yet still managed to make a comeback. Ma Weiwei had underestimated Tongning. However, she did not warn Ma Weiwei. As the person who sold Ma Weiwei out, she had no choice but to keep a low profile. Inside the museum, Tongning and the others were already aware of the situation outside. But their mood was not disturbed. Especially Jones, who continued to learn about the history of film in Beijing, and some interesting stories from the history of the film industry. It took around an hour to explore the entire museum. During this time, Tongning acted like a tour guide as she explained the boring history of the film industry to Jones. Okay, this trip to the museum has come to a successful end. You were very interesting and detailed. I'm very satisfied. Tongning glanced at the exit of the museum, and then looked at Jones. She asked helplessly, "Sir, are you sure? Let's go." Jones was very open-minded as he led the way towards the exit. As soon as the reporters saw them, they immediately swarmed towards them. However, they were quickly stopped by Tongning's bodyguards. However, Jones did not show any displeasure as he turned to look at Tongning. Tongning, come out and accept an interview. Tongning, rumor has it that you've hooked up with an American tycoon. Tongning, come out and explain the incident with Superstar Media. The reporters handed over their microphones and forced Tongning and Jones a few steps back. But Jones did not get angry as he continued to look at Tongning. Seeing this, Tongning stepped forward and stood in front of Jones. There's nothing to interview. This is a private trip. Please make way. The reporters thought that Tongning would respond. After all, the media had seen her kneeling down to an American tycoon. Wasn't Tongning afraid that her public image would be slapped in the face? You once expressed your disdain towards Hollywood in public, yet you're now befriending an American tycoon. Don't you think there's something wrong with that? Did President Mo allow you to do this? Tongning, you're such a hypocrite. At this moment, the reporters had no idea who the man standing beside Tongning was. As a result, their attacks on Tongning were extremely fierce. As a result, even though Tongning and the others had bodyguards protecting them, it was still difficult for them to walk out of the museum. Everything that the media has said today is a fabrication that I've never admitted to. Plus, you've never tried to find the truth. Most importantly, it's not appropriate for me to answer your questions at a time like this. I hope you all know your limits. Tongning, does the tycoon's feet smell good? Tongning, this American doesn't look like anything special. Your taste is terrible. Tongning looked at the clueless reporters and closed her eyes. She then replied, I hope in the future, you will not regret your actions today. Ha ha ha, you're already a rat in Beijing, yet you're threatening us not to regret it. This isn't the US. That's right. Many of the reporters followed the trend, but not all of them were ignorant. At least, one of the male reporters was a fan of sci-fi. The more he looked at Jones, the more familiar he became. In the end, he pulled out his phone and did a search. Then his expression changed. Chapter 1032. Hey, stop talking nonsense. The first thing he did after putting down his phone was grab the person next to him. This is the father of sci-fi Jones. What? Someone looked at the man's phone and saw Jones' profile. They were stunned. Oh God, what are we doing? Like this, a small group of reporters had already discovered Jones' identity. Only the people standing at the front were left shouting arrogantly. At this time, Jones gestured for Tongning to stand behind him as he stepped forward and said to the reporters in English, In the entire world, I have never been humiliated like today. The Beijing media has truly opened my eyes. Hey foreigner, go back to the US. This is Beijing. This is not your territory. Exactly who do you think you are? Tongning, you're such a coward. How could you stand behind a foreigner? Aren't you embarrassed? Tongning sneered without saying a word. She simply said to Jones, Sir, it's too chaotic here. Let's go back to the hotel. Okay. With the protection of the bodyguards, the Jones couple and Tongning successfully escaped. However, after the trio boarded their car, a few crazy reporters still wanted to chase after them. But they were confused by the other people's reactions, so they stopped in their tracks. What are you guys thinking? Why aren't you chasing after them? Have a look for yourself. One of the reporters handed his phone to the arrogant reporter. After taking the phone, the reporter was still confused. What do you guys mean? What I mean is, the American you're cursing at is the famous father of sci-fi Jones. He is loved by the entire world and his fans are crazy. Yet you guys scolded Jones in such a way. Just you wait to appear in the American newspapers. You're going to be famous. After hearing this, the female reporter was completely dumbfounded. No, everyone said. That's why Tongning said you guys don't know the truth. You're simply making assumptions about someone else and throwing accusations at them. There's going to be a good show to watch. If at the beginning, the reporters were just there to watch a good show, then Jones' appearance sent the entire Beijing into a frenzy. Have you guys heard? Jones is in Beijing. The American that Tongning is meeting with. Jones. Oh God. I've seen so many of his movies. I'm so fascinated by them. So, it turns out that Tongning was entertaining Jones. Yet so many reporters went over to diss her. Beijing's reputation has been completely destroyed. Fuck these stupid reporters. They're everywhere. If my idol has a bad impression of Beijing, I'm going to make them go out of business. All of a sudden, everyone was excited by Jones's arrival. At the same time, they were envious and jealous that Tongning and Jones had such a good relationship. Meanwhile, Jones's fans made multiple phone calls to Hai Rui, telling Tongning to take good care of their male idol. The ones that suffered the most were the media that tried to stop Tongning from spreading rumors. As soon as the matter was revealed, they immediately became a laughing stock. No. If they were to actually appear on American social media, they would completely embarrass Beijing. You people are too lowly. While you were complaining that Tongning was outdated and slandering her for framing Ma Weiwei, she was busy hosting the father of sci-fi, Jones. Is this a joke in England? Was he doing odd jobs in America? It's obvious that he's reached a new height, okay? It's been so long, but Tongning still loves to slap people's faces. In fact, he's getting more and more arrogant. I feel like Tongning is about to make a big move. Those that never doubted Tongning, please give me a like. Did Han Xiuqi's slandering of Tongning still matter? Not anymore. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that Tongning and Ma Weiwei were from two different worlds. Although Tongning had been misunderstood for a long time, she kept a low profile because she didn't want to refute the rumors. But, was there any point in refuting them? Was it because of the Beijing media? What a joke. So Superstar Media's incident didn't matter at all. It didn't matter who framed Han Xiuqi and Ma Weiwei. After all, the most important thing was that Jones was in Beijing and he was scolded by the media as soon as he arrived. As a result, netizens urged Tongning to explain herself to Jones and not let him down. Jones has been a thrifty person his entire life, and has always been focused on producing good films. Since Tongning has such a close relationship with Jones, no matter what the public says, I won't believe it. +1, +10086. So, Han Xiuqi and Ma Weiwei, can they please step aside? If anyone dares to stir up trouble at a time like this, it's obvious who's up to no good. Han Xiuqi never imagined that Tongning would have such a trick up her sleeve. Jones. She actually knew Jones. She sure had a lot of tricks up her sleeves. Because of Tongning's actions, everything he had done in the past had gone to waste. He had always thought that Tongning wouldn't be able to make a comeback, but who would have thought that the problem he had given her would be solved so easily? More importantly, he definitely didn't know that there was even more shocking news to come. For example, that Tongning was Jones' apprentice. Or that Tongning had evidence of his meeting with Ma Weiwei. There was still a lot of drama waiting for him, so he didn't need to rush. Soon, the group returned to the hotel. Faced with the sudden reversal of the situation, Tongning couldn't help but say to Jones, "Your appearance was a huge help to me. I'm really thankful." Jones revealed a loving smile as he looked at Tongning. "You are one of the rare children that I acknowledge. Because of you, I can feel that there are still people in this industry with flesh and blood that want to live a different and exciting life. Most importantly, I've seen in you the passion and persistence that not many people have for film. People like that are becoming fewer and fewer. As your mentor, if I can still help you when I retire, my life will be considered complete. So you don't need to thank me. I'm still waiting for your film to be released. Don't disappoint me and embarrass me. I'm relying on you for the rest of my life." Tongning nodded her head and smiled. "Mentor, you're being too serious. I will definitely do my best." She knew that she was lucky this time. She had met a good person like Jones, so she never wanted to use their relationship. Everything that had happened was already enough. She had no intention of revealing that she was Jones' apprentice. However, sometimes, things didn't go according to plan. Chapter 1033. But, what did Tongning and Jones have to do with each other? Could it be that this was the method she chose to use to make a comeback? Was she using Jones to create hype? A lot of people expressed their doubts, and even asked questions. But this time, Mo Ting personally released a statement. After all, although Tongning was no longer an artist of Hai Rui, she was still an artist under his management. As Tongning's lifelong manager, Mo Ting naturally had a responsibility. In the past, Tongning was the one that refused to let Mo Ting interfere. But this time, Tongning had learned from Jones that mutual need was important to a married couple. So she no longer cared about small things. Afterwards, Mo Ting posted a statement on his public social media account. It wasn't exactly a response, but it sounded like a question. "My wife's return to Beijing has caused a huge uproar. Before we've even sorted out the matter with Superstar Media, we've already been accused of using Jones to create hype. When can the media be more dignified? My wife accompanied Jones to Beijing to take care of him. It was a completely private trip, so there was no need to explain. But the slanderers are still doing as they please. The funniest thing is they want my wife to explain how she knows Jones. The media have always taken advantage of the fact that they're weak, and have the right to force their artists to cooperate and violate their rights. Artists need to be monitored by the public, not slandered by them. Is this the only way for you to survive, by casually making assumptions and riding on the hype? A good environment in the entertainment industry requires reporters to follow the rules. Otherwise, appearing on the headlines in the US and embarrassing yourself will be a part of your plan. I would like to make one final statement. This is my final warning. I welcome the public to monitor me at any time. But if you come across any slandering or rumors again, please wait for a letter from my lawyer. Mo Ting's statement was filled with strong personal feelings. After all, this wasn't an agency anymore, so there was no need to be so rigid. But the most important point was that no matter what Tongning did, the media would always diss her. Sometimes it was without reason. Tongning creating hype? Tongning scheming? Tongning causing someone to die? Over the years, every change in Tongning's life had a lot to do with the media. Most of the time, the media made up stories out of thin air. But when the public thought about it carefully, they understood. And this time, even when he was taking care of his friend and wanted to be a good host, he was slandered for sucking up to the Americans. Wasn't that too much? This time, it was Tongning's fans that had been bullied for a long time. With Mo Ting's words, they suddenly had the courage to step out to protect Tongning. With all due respect, is Han Xiuqia retarded? Superstar Media originally belonged to Tongning, yet he snatched it from her and accused her of framing him. Don't forget who benefited from this incident. If he didn't use underhanded means, how did he get Superstar Media? As for Jones, this is probably the funniest piece of entertainment news I've ever seen. Just because Jones has a special identity, Tongning actually had to explain how she met him. It's none of your business. We've been Tongning's fans for a long time, so we're used to her being slandered. So we've kept a low profile and simply watched her work. Originally, we planned to stay like this for the rest of our lives. But when she was attacked by the media while she was shopping with her friend, I couldn't tolerate it any longer. Mo Ting's words awakened a portion of the public's rationality and caused a portion of the public to take sides. As a result, there were a lot of people that wanted to go against the reporters. When it came to the media's harsh treatment of their artists, quite a few artists stepped out to ridicule. Previously, when I was having dinner, I ran into a paparazzo that was secretly taking pictures of us. I tried to explain to him that it was just a meal and that he shouldn't take pictures. But the paparazzo pointed to his own head and said that if I didn't let him follow me, he would smash his head open and yell at me for hitting him. If that happened, you would have a scandal. In the end, I gave up. I couldn't afford to offend him, but I could afford to hide. So I ended up eating a bowl of noodles on the side of the road. Aren't reporters supposed to be harsh towards their artists and lenient towards themselves? Most of the onlookers think that celebrities are rich and don't want to see anyone make a move on them. But look at our cutie reporters. They've already turned a normal relationship upside down. If we were to really touch them, we would lose our jobs. There's nothing we can do. The public loves drama, but reporters love drama. If in my lifetime, I'm able to see the reporter industry being cleaned up, I'm willing to stream myself streaking. We've already taken care of ourselves. What about the reporters? This time, the reporters' incident attracted attention because they had ignorantly slandered Tongning and offended Jones. In the end, news of the incident even reached the US. It didn't need to be said how embarrassing it was. All over the US websites, the most arrogant reporters at the time had already resigned and left Beijing. They were too ashamed to face the consequences. After being dealt with in such a way and receiving all sorts of attacks from both inside and outside of the industry, the reporters were under a lot of pressure. In the end, during an interview, the people from Hairue were asked what Mo Ting meant. They all laughed and replied, "What President Mo is trying to say is that it's fine for reporters to stick to their jobs. Interviewing and supervising are their responsibilities. But we need to ask our colleagues to use their brains. But they still need to give us the truth about Superstar Media. That's not something that we're in charge of." As a result, the reporters became a lot more cautious. Meanwhile, Han Xiuqia's hopes of catching Tongning's attention were dashed in the end. After all, Jones was currently in Beijing. Who would want to pay attention to his insignificant news? Damn it. Han Xiuqia's brother asked as soon as he heard Han Xiuqia's cursing. If you try to take down Tongning with your own abilities, you'll only make yourself unhappy. Now that she's involved herself with Jones, it means that she's entered a higher class circle that people like you and I can't come into contact with. If you have the time, you should draw more comics. Perhaps, one day, you'll be able to catch up to her. Xiucha, you're my only brother. Don't cause so much trouble and embarrass me. Am I supposed to just sit by and do nothing about her? What else do you think you can do? Create big news with that fake Ma Weiwei? Han Xiucha's brother laughed. If she had enough scenes, she might have a chance to step out and join in the fun. Isn't Tongning magnanimous? I don't think she'll say anything. You guys can do your own things and she can do hers. Although it's disgusting, Ma Weiwei already exists and there's nothing Tongning can do about it. Plus, superstar media is in your hands. It's fine if you suck her blood. Chapter 1034. Ma Weiwei's agency seemed to understand what was going on, so they immediately released news that Ma Weiwei was about to star in a big film. In fact, they shamelessly jumped on the popularity of Tongning and Jones by claiming that their relationship would extend from real life to acting. Acting? How dare the agency mention Ma Weiwei's acting? Who gave Ma Weiwei the confidence? Even though Tongning was surrounded by so many topics, her acting skills were obvious to everyone. Meanwhile, Ma Weiwei's audition with the American producer also revealed her shocking acting skills. So, where did she get the confidence to compare herself to Tongning? Of course, Ma Weiwei and her agency weren't stupid. Whether they could be compared or not wasn't the main point. The main point was, Ma Weiwei's popularity continued to rise. This was exactly what Han Xiucha's brother predicted. Who in the entertainment industry didn't have a few tricks up their sleeves? Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that Ma Weiwei had completely blackmailed Tongning. She copied Tongning's every move. After all, this was the only way to make Ma Weiwei famous. As long as there was popularity, money to be made and investors were satisfied, then no matter how much the public scolded them, it didn't matter. After all, some people cared about fame, while others only cared about profit. As long as they had money in their pockets, it was easy to clear their names. Tongning's acting is so good and she's a two-time best actress. Yet, she's being placed in the same category as a toy. How disgusting. After all this time, I simply want to say that Ma Weiwei's agency sure has a lot of face. I know this woman is leeching on the popularity, yet I'm so angry that I can't help but contribute to it. I must be possessed. As a result, the netizens realized Tongning's good points. No matter how much trouble she created, at least she had something to show in every field. But this Ma Weiwei, she was obviously ridiculing her, so she didn't care. Yet Tongning still had to hide from this idiot, because she was too shameless. If she continued to slander Tongning, what would she do? Long Jie was also angry at Ma Weiwei's actions. Someone like her was too shameless. There was nothing she could do about it. Worst of all, Superstar Media was still in Ma Weiwei's hands. But she had personally handed over Superstar Media. So, what right did she have to interfere with Tongning's matters? Ever since Superstar Media's incident, Long Jie stayed at home and tried her best to spend time with her daughter, because she couldn't face herself. Perhaps, Mother Lu found out from the news that Long Jie was currently at home, so she had been planning to bring Lu Che's son home for a long time. So while Lu Che was at work, she came knocking on his door. Although Lu Che's attitude was firm at the time, they were still mother and son. So no matter how bad their relationship was, in Mother Lu's heart, he was still her son. How could there be overnight hatred between mother and son? With that thought in mind, Mama Lu went to the door. As soon as Long Jie saw her mother-in-law, her expression froze. At this time, Mother Lu directly pushed Long Jie aside and entered the house. I've heard about what happened to you. So after all this time, it was all in vain. Mother Lu looked at her granddaughter without a care in the world. After all, she now had a grandson. She assumed that the surrogate that she found was going to give birth to Lu Che's son. Women should be responsible for supporting their husband and children. Look, after all this effort, you still haven't done anything. May I ask why you're here today, Mrs. Lu? Long Jie asked stiffly. Mother Lu turned around and looked at Long Jie. She didn't want to beat around the bush anymore as she directly said, Back then, when I asked you to give birth to a son for Lu Che, it was harder than reaching the heavens. But now you don't need to because Lu Che already has a son. Of course, I don't expect you to accept the child, but as the child's father, Lu Che needs to take responsibility. So, I'm here to tell you that from now on, Lu Che will be spending more time with me and his father. Whether you and your daughter understand or not, if you want to live together, you'll have to endure it. After hearing this, Longjie was amused. Why do you always make everyone so tired? I don't have anything else to say to you. Let's call it a day. After speaking, Mother Lu left Longjie's home without a care in the world for her granddaughter. After all, she thought that she had a grandson. With this thought, Longjie leaned against the table and laughed for quite some time. She felt both sad and amused. That night, after Lu Che returned home, Longjie casually explained the situation to Lu Che. Lu Che glanced at her and carried his daughter in his arms. I will always be your and our daughter's pillar of support. Plus, I'm sure you already know where this child came from. When will this matter be resolved? Only when the occasion is big enough will people remember it. Don't you think so? Lu Che asked. After following Mo Ting for so long, he had learned to be a lot more cunning. Sometimes because they were family he would continuously give in. But when he gave in, all he got in return was more incomprehension and hurt. Since that was the case, why did he have to carry these shackles? Longjie looked deeply into Lu Che's eyes and trusted him from the bottom of her heart. Don't worry, I won't take it to heart. I know that you have always been a good husband and father. As for our parents, we have already tried our best. Even if we are criticized by everyone and are labeled as unfilial, I will gladly endure it. That's good. The madam asked me to tell you that if you are willing, you can return to being her assistant and return to how you were before. Longjie lowered her head and smiled bitterly. Of course I'm willing. What else could she do? She had put in so much effort, but in the end, all her hard work had gone to someone else. Be more optimistic. Don't be so bitter. It's not like you anymore. Longjie nodded her head. However, she suddenly felt nauseous as she ran to the bathroom and threw up. Recently, she hadn't been eating regularly and had drunk a lot of alcohol. Even if her stomach was made of iron, she still couldn't handle it. Lu Che did not think too much of it. He simply called the hospital and arranged for Longjie to have a checkup the next day. At this time, seeing that Tongning did not respond, Ma Weiwei became even more arrogant. Not only did she ride on Tongning and Joan's popularity with the film, she also went around promoting her charity work and mocking Tongning for not doing charity. At times, Tongning didn't understand why Ma Weiwei created an atmosphere of invincibility for herself. As Jones was still in Beijing, Tongning had no time to deal with Ma Weiwei. She wanted to see how arrogant Ma Weiwei could get. Chapter 1035. After tasting the benefits of being popular, Ma Weiwei temporarily let go of her pride. At least, at this moment, she finally understood the value of having plastic surgery to look like Tongning. She also understood why her agency insisted on doing this. Because of Han Xiuqi's preparations, Ma Weiwei was so fearless. After all, if anything happened to her, she could blame it on Tongning. So why wouldn't she do it? Her most recent job was to attend a jewelry brand's endorsement event. Coincidentally, the mall also had a picture of a watch that Tongning had once endorsed. As a result, the accompanying reporters couldn't help but ask her what she thought of her relationship with Tongning. As a result, she purposefully stood in front of Tongning's face and smiled. I think if Ningjie and I have the chance to share a stage together, we will definitely become good sisters. You don't mind sharing a stage with Tongning? Why would I mind? Ma Weiwei shrugged. She then said to the reporters, due to a strange combination of factors, superstar media that Ningjie created is now in my hands. I simply hope that I don't let down superstar media's original intentions. I also want to take this opportunity to tell Ningjie that I will take good care of superstar media. What did she mean by this? It was like giving birth to a child that was later snatched away by someone else. Yet, the person didn't seem to regret it at all, and even boasted that she would take good care of the child. From this, one could imagine exactly how malicious Ma Weiwei was. But regardless of what happened, Whether Ma Weiwei showed off or Tang Ning avoided it, the sparks between the two were enough to support the reporters for a long time to come. Ma Weiwei's promise to take good care of superstar media was probably the most provocative thing she had ever said. Did this mean that she was declaring war on Tang Ning? But the thing that made everyone anxious was the fact that Tang Ning, the other main character of the incident, refused to respond. She did not respond to Ma Weiwei at all. Over the past few days, Tang Ning had taken Jones to many interesting places in Beijing. She truly treated Jones like family and took care of him. But Jones continued to pay close attention to the incident. A few days later, Jones decided it was time for him to return to the U.S. After all, this was his first stop after retirement, and he had a good understanding of Beijing's culture. So he decided to leave with his wife. Tang Ning, I know that if I stay in Beijing, you will need to think of a way to keep us company. You won't be able to focus on dealing with the clone. Hearing this, Tang Ning shook her head. That matter can be dealt with at any time. But it's not every day that I get to go shopping with my master. Tomorrow, I will leave with your master's wife. Aren't you going to stay for another 2 days? Tang Ning asked. It's fine, my wife misses her grandson. Jones replied. Tomorrow, your wife and I will go to the airport on our own. You don't need to send us back, otherwise, it will cause another huge scandal. Master. All good things must come to an end. Your teacher's wife and I have grown old, but you are still young and have limitless possibilities. I will be waiting for your film to be released in the U.S. Jones packed his luggage and placed it to one side. He then pointed to Tang Ning's sons and said, Your rascals look very special. As she was afraid that Jones would be harassed by fans, she arranged for the couple to stay at Hyatt Regency. When the husband and wife came in, they were extremely excited because they could see 3 cute little guys. Meanwhile, Jones was at the age where he could play with his grandson. He looked at the little rascals lovingly. His father and I are planning to take him for a test to see how he's different from a normal child. After the test, remember to tell me the results. Jones raised an eyebrow at Tang Ning. Don't you guys have a saying? The world is full of strange things. Tang Ning laughed. That's right, that's right. The next day, as expected, Jones insisted on leaving. Tang Ning couldn't dissuade the 2 elders, so she tried to drive them to the airport. But Jones refused. Right now, we are just 2 normal old people. You don't need to make us special. Since things had reached this point, what else could Tang Ning say? All she could do was arrange a car for the 2 elders and not go there herself. Of course, she had no idea that Jones had prepared an even bigger gift for her. Perhaps, Jones did it on purpose, but as soon as he arrived at the airport, he did not hide his presence at all. As a result, he attracted a large group of fans. Of course, some Beijing locals who were fluent in English approached him and tried to strike up a conversation. Hi Jones, I'm so excited to see you here. Jones was extremely approachable and agreed to all the requests of the passers-by. Afterwards, the nearby reporters all rushed over. As soon as they saw Jones, they immediately swarmed towards him. But Jones did not show any signs of impatience. I only have one request. As long as you're not as aggressive as you were the other day, I can give you a good interview. Of course not. Of course not. I know what you want to ask. Why didn't Tang Ning come to the airport to send us off? Jones asked on behalf of the reporters. I was the one who requested to take my wife back to China on my own. I've troubled her too much over the past few days. Jones, in your eyes, what kind of person is Tang Ning? One of the reporters asked. Stubborn and persistent. It's strange. I've read a lot of reports about you guys, but she's very different from the Tang Ning I know. On the surface, she acts tough, but she's actually a very kind person. She's cold on the outside but warm on the inside. So I don't understand why you guys are slandering her. Jones replied with a cute and playful tone. I really like your films, Jones. I'm looking forward to your new film. New film? I'm sorry, madam, but I've already retired. Jones replied as he made a regretful gesture. But if you still want to watch a good film, I think there's someone else that can satisfy you. Who? Jones, hurry and tell us. Jones held onto his wife's hand as he answered the reporter's questions. My disciple, Tang Ning. In Beijing, you call her disciple. right? Disciple? That's right, my disciple. Don't you guys have a saying in Beijing? Tongning is my only disciple. Although I'm no longer filming, she will continue to work hard. Oh God! The reporters were stunned. What kind of explosive news had they just heard? It turned out, Jones was with Tongning in Beijing because she was his disciple, his only disciple. This was something Jones had personally admitted. She was the disciple of the father of sci-fi. How big of a mess was Tongning trying to create? It was unbelievable. Chapter 1036. So for the sake of a good film, don't bully her all the time. Promise me, okay? Perhaps it was because Jones's question was too gentle, but the reporters around him all nodded their heads stupidly. Jones revealed a loving smile, like a kind father that had successfully protected his daughter. From the conversation between Jones and the reporters, it was obvious that he and Tongning had a very close relationship. At least, Tongning was the only person that a world-class sci-fi master acknowledged as his disciple. This was way too domineering. Although she didn't come from a professional film school, she will definitely produce the best film with the utmost sincerity. Trust me. After speaking, Jones gave the reporters an okay gesture as he passed through security. This old man was extremely adorable. It wasn't until Jones's figure completely disappeared from the reporters' view that they began to sigh. I can't believe Tongning ended up becoming Jones's disciple. The public ridiculed her so much, yet she still insisted on filming a sci-fi film. Of course. She's been working with Qiao Sun for a while now. Who would have thought that after so much has happened, she still hasn't given up? I'm impressed by her determination. To have a world-class master speak up for her, Tongning must be extremely lucky. That's why, with Jones's help, Tongning can easily make a comeback and create a big scene. Let's look at Ma Weiwei's side and see who's better. One's the real deal and the other's the fake. Do you really expect the fake to produce something good? The discussions of the reporters represented a lot of netizens. Especially after the video was uploaded online, it caused an uproar. Although this was already Tongning's normal behavior, according to the speed of her improvement, even if Ma Weiwei tried to scam her every day, she wouldn't be able to catch up. Especially since Tongning was now a personal disciple of a master. Because of this relationship, the reporters treated Tongning a lot more gently. Of course, after a few confrontations with the reporters, Tongning realized from Jones's words that there was no way anyone could win. On top of that, after being slapped in the face by the media on the US website, both sides began to reconsider. So, Tongning decided that her time should be spent on researching her film and not being angry with the media. Now that she had the support of Jones, her net worth was naturally different. This made the onlookers feel inexplicably refreshed. After all, when they saw Tongning being bullied by Ma Weiwei, they felt like they were the ones being bullied. So now that Tongning had turned the tables and slapped them in the face, they felt like they had personally slapped Ma Weiwei. It was extremely satisfying. Of course, as the person in question, Tongning had no idea that Jones would do something like this, even though she had already decided not to reveal this matter to the public. Jones gave you such a big present. Aren't you happy? You should know that the words coming out of Jones' mouth and yours are two completely different things. This was what Wuxia said to the serious-looking Tongning on her first day back at work. Of course, Tongning wasn't wrong. Although being Jones's only direct disciple is a very prestigious thing, it also means that people will have different expectations of you. In this way, I will be under even more pressure. That's true. Jones is, after all, the father of sci-fi. As his disciple, if you produce something too bad, you will definitely be scolded. But I believe in you. Wuxia was confident in Tongning. Look at you. For the sake of the Ant Queen, you moved your studio back and forth between Beijing and the US. I refuse to believe that you won't be recognized by the fans. The Ant Queen is starting to show results. I'm sure it will be released to the public very soon. Plus, since Jones has already left, it's time to settle the score with Superstar Media. But before that, Ting and I need to take Zichen for a test. Everyone can tell that the little rascal is different from others, Wuxia said as she looked at her son sitting on the sofa. After leaving work, Long Jie also had to deal with the difficulties of her family. Although Mother Lu had only visited once and Tongning didn't take it to heart, she still felt uncomfortable whenever she thought about Mother Lu's expression. Lu Che said that he needed to wait for the right time. So she hoped that the right time would come soon. Otherwise, she would hate her family and not want to return home in case Mother Lu came looking for her again. Meanwhile, the results of the test that Lu Che had arranged for her had yet to come out. Meanwhile, news of Tongning being Joan's student had already spread throughout Beijing. At the same time, the public acknowledged Tongning's achievements in the film industry. Although they previously ridiculed her for creating sci-fi films, now that the father of sci-fi, Jones, mentioned that he was her teacher, did it mean that Tongning had really put in a lot of hard work in this area? It seemed she really enjoyed challenges. In particular, she enjoyed face-slapping. But this wave of news made it impossible for Ma Weiwei to catch up even if she rode on a rocket. After all, Ma Weiwei had no choice when it came to film and television. Although she had put in a lot of effort to learn, not everyone had the same level of understanding and talent as Tongning. Because of this, the public's attitude towards Ma Weiwei and Tongning began to tilt towards one side. This meant that Ma Weiwei was being ridiculed by the public, while the benefits that she brought to the public decreased. And the treatment that the public received meant that her entire existence was worth less. As a result, Ma Weiwei was in low spirits. Her manager stood by her side and comforted, "Weiwei, don't worry. The most important thing right now is to grab onto the next hot topic. I'm just a parasite on Tongning. Don't think too much. Tomorrow, the agency will be taking you to an interview for an international skincare endorsement. Although Tongning has improved, you aren't too bad either," her manager comforted. "Get some rest and don't think too much." She challenged Tongning multiple times and each challenge was more and more outrageous than the last. But Tongning didn't care at all. What could she do? Tongning was now Joan's disciple. She wasn't someone that a C-list artist like her could compare to. Because of this, Ma Weiwei gave Han Xiuqu a phone call. "You're not in a good mood. Let's have a drink?" "Is it because of Tongning?" Han Xiuqu asked. "I've already heard about what happened. Tongning is slowly rising up the ranks and you're about to be hit in the back." "Don't be sarcastic. You're not doing well either," Ma Weiwei humphed. "After all, you've always viewed Tongning as your enemy. Don't you feel bad that your enemy keeps changing?" Chapter 1037. It's hard, of course it's hard. But I'm not going to sit around and do nothing. Han Xiuqu laughed at Ma Weiwei as he drew his comic. "You're such a pitiful person. Did Tongning want to make a sci-fi film?" He had been in the field of sci-fi for a long time. If Tongning could come up with something, what else couldn't he do? But the matter with Superstar Media wasn't over yet. The most disappointing thing was Superstar Media was something that Tongning single-handedly created. Yet she threw it away just like that. It was obvious that she was a heartless person. It didn't matter how much the public praised her. As long as he knew how fake she was, that was enough. Ma Weiwei was indeed a pitiful person. Her fate was firmly controlled by Tongning, and she had no right to speak. Regardless of everything else, the most important thing right now was to secure the international endorsement deal. But Ma Weiwei had no idea how humiliating the interview the next day would be. The next morning, as soon as they returned to Beijing, Tongning promised Mo Zichen that she would take him to do a brain test. The little rascal looked smart, but he didn't know how to communicate with adults like a normal child. If his daily behavior was a result of some kind of disorder, it would be easier to get treatment in time. Because of this, Long Jie contacted a specialist hospital to keep Tongning and boss's schedule a secret. However, the little rascal was rarely taken out on his own, yet he wasn't afraid of strangers at all. Mo Ting carried their son while Tongning followed beside him. The couple dressed extremely inconspicuously as they took their son to the neurology department. As soon as the doctor saw the couple, he welcomed them with a smile and took Mo Zichen from their hands. "I've already heard from Miss Long about the young master's daily behavior. He is indeed different from other children his age, including when he's with his twin brother. Don't worry, Mr. and Mrs. Mo. During the examination, I will take good care of the young master. Don't worry." Mo Ting wrapped his arm around Tongning's shoulder and nodded his head. The couple then retreated to the waiting room with Long Jia. The entire examination took a little over an hour. Afterwards, the doctor carried Mo Zichen out and handed him to Mo Ting. Meanwhile, the little rascal fell asleep. "Doctor, what are the results?" "You don't have to worry. The young master is very healthy. There are no problems that you are worried about." "But he didn't cry or make a fuss, and he didn't speak either." "That's not a problem at all. When he wants to express himself, he'll speak. You might have given birth to a genius. Therefore, in your daily life, you should try your best to cultivate some of his interests and hobbies. At that time, you will be able to discover exactly what makes him a genius. But you have to pay attention to a problem. Smart children tend to be loners." Tongning glanced at Mo Ting and rubbed her son's head. She then nodded at the doctor. "We will be careful." Then, the couple brought the little fellow home. On the way home, Tongning realized Mo Ting was not the least bit worried. "What if he's too smart and we can't handle him?" "That's impossible. As long as he's healthy, leave his future education to me, okay?" Originally, Tongning took Mo Zichen to the hospital because she wanted to know if he was healthy or not. She didn't care about anything else. After all, no matter what happened to the little rascal, he was still her and Mo Ting's baby. This was something that no one could change. So, Tongning let out a sigh of relief. "My request is simple. As long as he's happy and kind, whether he succeeds in the end will depend on him. Don't worry, okay?" Mo Ting carried Mo Zichen in one arm and rubbed Tongning on the forehead with the other. However, even though the couple kept such a low profile, they were still spotted by passers-by. So a photo of them was taken and uploaded online. Netizens expressed that, while Ma Weiwei and Tongning were locked in an intense battle, Mo Ting taking his wife and son out on the road was a great way to calm the tense atmosphere. Above all, from the photo, Mo Ting carried his son in a professional manner, while Tongning leaned against his arm. The family of three looked very warm and harmonious. "Daddy Ting is so handsome." The big boss of the entertainment industry dotes on his wife and son. He is a legend. Of course, there were also people that criticized Tongning for selling off her image as a mother. But as soon as these comments appeared, they were immediately criticized by the majority of netizens. Tongning simply took her son to the hospital. Why do some people always sound so vicious? Children are prone to illness. Don't forget whose apprentice Tongning is. She doesn't need to sell off her image. Only a fan of Ma Weiwei's that would criticize something like this. Their son is so adorable. Haven't you guys noticed? At the time, Mo Zichen was sleeping on his father's shoulder. So he looked adorable and likable. Netizens couldn't help but sigh. It was all because of his good genes. I really hope to see this adorable child star. Meanwhile, Tongning's side was filled with warmth. Because of Mo Zichen's appearance, many passers-by liked him. Meanwhile, Ma Weiwei was accompanied by her management agency and successfully met with the CEO of an international skincare brand. But after a short discussion, the CEO scanned Ma Weiwei from head to toe with a complex expression, making it impossible to guess what he was planning. The CEO of Ma Weiwei's agency expressed his confusion. Did they put in so much effort, yet the CEO still wasn't sure? After all, the agency's PR department had spent a lot of resources. "Mr. Zhou, I'm sure you're aware of Weiwei's current popularity in Beijing. Is there anything you're not satisfied with?" The CEO, Mr. Zhou, lifted his head and looked at Ma Weiwei before smiling. "To be honest, a lot of agencies have approached us this time. Although I know your agency has a strong desire to work with us, I'm sorry, but in comparison, our number one wish is to look for Tongning. Unfortunately, she has already rejected us. But even so, we would rather look for another female celebrity. Wouldn't we be destroying our own reputation if we were to look for someone who has undergone plastic surgery?" The CEO replied straightforwardly. "Plus, when it comes to popularity, your agency's artists are a far cry from Tongning's. So how could our brand possibly look for an unfamiliar face? For us, money and benefits aren't a problem. The problem is, we want a spokesperson that truly matches our style. Rank is very important, do you know? Man. Meanwhile, your artist isn't good enough yet. Go home." Chapter 1038. You guys don't do things like this. Shouldn't you give us an explanation for accepting benefits from us? There were plenty of companies and artists that had given benefits to others, but none of them were like Ma Weiwei and her agency. How dare they bring such an unspoken rule to the public? You should look for the person that received benefits from you. Leah, send them out. Why don't you take a look at yourself first? As an imitation, you should have some self-awareness. Do you think you're the real deal? The real Tongning could even reject international brands, but they still wanted her to be their spokesperson. After all, in the entire Beijing, Tongning was the only person that had achieved results and was well known overseas. Plus, she was now the disciple of the father of sci-fi, Jones. So, she was probably the only one that was suitable for an international skincare product. Ma Weiwei still wanted to fight for the opportunity, but Ma Weiwei stopped her. Let's go back. Go back? How are we going to explain this to boss? The artist director asked. Weiwei, you need to work harder. It's not easy for the agency to spend so much effort on you. Yet, you can't even secure a good endorsement deal. If this gets out, how are we going to continue working? Then don't work anymore. After speaking, Ma Weiwei stood up without even putting on her sunglasses as she rushed out the door and into the elevator. At this time, the staff in the elevator were excited to see Ma Weiwei. Tongning, are you Tongning? Can you give me an autograph? A female staff wearing black-framed glasses handed her notebook to Ma Weiwei. The male colleague beside her immediately reminded her, "You've got the wrong person. She's not Tongning, she's the imitation." The female employee hurriedly adjusted her glasses and looked at Ma Weiwei from top to bottom. Her face immediately turned red. I thought, for an upper-class skincare company to invite someone like Tongning. Keep your voice down. What's she doing here? Unfortunately, this female staff was Tongning's fan, so she obviously despised Ma Weiwei. So, now that she saw the real Ma Weiwei, she naturally couldn't help but mock. In this world, reincarnation is the way of the world. Those that climb up by stepping on others, I hope they'll one day fall to pieces. Ma Weiwei was squeezed into the small elevator. She clenched her fists tightly. If there weren't so many people around, she would have torn this bitch's mouth apart. However, there were so many eyes staring at her. If you truly have Tongning's best interests in mind, then don't put her in the same category as that type of person. There's no need to even hate her. Of course, this was only after Ma Weiwei stepped out of the elevator. However, it did not escape Ma Weiwei's ears. After Ma Weiwei heard this, she directly walked out of the building. She did not care about the traffic outside or how many pairs of eyes were watching her. Was she destined to live under Tongning's shadow for the rest of her life? Perhaps, the artist director told her to look for Ma Weiwei. So she had no choice but to give Han Xiucha a phone call. At this point, there was nothing she could do about Ma Weiwei. Although Han Xiucha didn't want to get involved in other people's business, especially at a sensitive time like this, he felt sympathetic towards Ma Weiwei. They were both people that Tongning had hurt. If he didn't step in to help, then no one else would. Little did he know, between the two of them, one of them had his pride hurt because of his desire for love, so he lied to himself and tried his best to defame Tongning. He wanted to create the illusion that Tongning wasn't good enough to make him give up. As for the other one, she was even worse. She used her face for plastic surgery to ride on her popularity, consume her fame, and even snatched her company. Not only did they not find fault with themselves, they even thought that the one at fault would always be the one who did not satisfy their desires. In the end, Han Xiucha found Ma Weiwei at the bar and took her to his home. No matter what I do, I will never be able to escape from Tongning's curse. Cheer up a little. Han Xiucha pulled out a towel and threw it at Ma Weiwei's head. As long as we have a scapegoat, we can just throw it at Tongning, and everything will be over. But how many people are still willing to believe in me? Ma Weiwei buried her head in tears. I've already made myself look like her. What do you expect me to do? Han Xiucha, I'm really tired. Go to sleep. Tomorrow, I'll help you get revenge. What are you going to do? Don't worry about me. Han Xiucha pulled out his laptop and a thin blanket and threw it at Ma Weiwei. Afterwards, he immersed himself in his own world as he logged onto social media and began to curse. His way of expressing himself was simple and violent. Tongning, how far do you want to push Ma Weiwei? Are you going to give up after one more death? You have everything you need right now, so you can't be too ruthless. As soon as these words were posted, everyone, including Tongning, were dumbfounded. Tongning hadn't done anything. How did she become the ruthless person that Han Xiucha was referring to? This time, Tongning's fans couldn't hold back any longer as they directly attacked. Yesterday morning, my Ning took little Mo to the doctor. After returning home, she stayed at Hyatt Regency and hasn't stepped out since. Han Xiucha, aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning for throwing the blame around? Han Xiucha, you keep saying that my Ning is forcing Ma Weiwei. Please show us some evidence. By the way, didn't you say that you weren't close with Ma Weiwei? Just because Ma Weiwei got plastic surgery to look like my Ning, every time Ma Weiwei gets bullied, it's all my Ning's fault? I'm sorry, but my Ning doesn't have that much free time. God will punish a despicable person. Han Xiucha continued to create the image of a victim for Ma Weiwei, because he wanted to stick to Tongning. He wanted to give her a reminder so that she would feel better, but at the same time, she would feel a little upset. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that he was creating hype. After all, he had previously admitted that he gave superstar media to Ma Weiwei, because he wanted to ride on Tongning's popularity. But his image of a victim was becoming deeper and deeper. When someone was bullied or unhappy, all he had to do was shout about it online, and the public would be in an uproar. As soon as Ma Weiwei woke up and saw Han Xiucha arguing with Tongning's fans, she immediately tried to stop him. Are you crazy? I'm trying to help you. Han Xiucha laughed. If you're in trouble, then Tongning shouldn't be in trouble either. But if she's in trouble, it won't do me any good. Who said it won't do you any good? Some things, the more you talk about it, the more it turns out to be true. Right now you are just an imitation. There is no way you can change Tongning's image. On the other hand, in the eyes of others, you can't bully Tongning, but Tongning can bully you as she pleases. You need to continue being the victim. Only then will you feel better. After hearing Han Xiucha's words, Ma Weiwei couldn't help but laugh. You're already in this state, yet Tongning can still hold it in without making a sound. Her endurance isn't ordinary. Chapter 1039. If Ma Weiwei wasn't lying to herself, why didn't Tongning say a word? Didn't she know? For a fake like her, Tongning had no reason to respond. She simply didn't want to admit it. Han Xiucha thought he had seen through Tongning. Not only does she have amazing endurance, her methods are also extremely shameless. Just wait and see, she has a lot of tricks up her sleeves. But regardless of what she does, be careful. I can't help you every time. Ma Weiwei sneered. After running away for an entire night, it was time to face reality. Plus, just like Han Xiucha said, he had already helped her vent her anger. At least, disgusting Tongning a little would make her feel a lot better. This was how the world worked. Many people felt that seeing others happy was worse than seeing their own misfortune. As long as she saw others suffer, she would find a sense of balance in her heart. So, Han Xiucha continued to argue with Tongning's fans. Did you guys know that the woman you're so loyal to has a rotten heart? She's accomplished nothing, yet she dares to call herself an international superstar. You're the only one with a bigger face. Faced with this situation, Long Jia watched as Han Xiucha argued with his fans and handed her phone to Tongning. I wonder how far Han Xiucha will go. You don't need to care about it. I know, but this man and Ma Weiwei are as disgusting as flies. Yet, she once tried to trust this man. This made Long Jia feel even more humiliated and angry. Plus, superstar media was still in their hands. Doesn't Tongning want to make a sci-fi film? Just you wait. The rubbish she makes will either suck up to the Americans or become a children's film. What the fuck? As soon as Long Jia saw this, her temper flared up. Aren't you afraid that your tongue will rot? This morning, I received news that the trailer for The Ant Queen has been completed. Tongning did not respond to Long Jia's words. Instead, she shared this more meaningful news with her. I understand what you're trying to say. After preparing for so long, it's time to release a trailer and slap those jerks in the face. For the sake of the Ant Queen. The hardships that Tongning had gone through were not things that Long Jia could understand. Especially since she was carrying Qiao Sun and Xia Hanmo's dreams on her back, she was already carrying a heavy burden. So, even if Han Xiuqia and Ma Weiwei were vicious, they couldn't stop Tang Ning from moving forward. This time, she was no longer a model, nor an actress, nor was she an international superstar. This time, she was simply a producer and producer. Afterwards, Tang Ning handed the first version of the film to Mo Ting. "You are the first." Mo Ting looked at Tang Ning seriously. He knew how much anticipation she had for handing him the finished product, and how complicated her feelings were. She needed the most honest answer and the most sincere encouragement. This was the first version of the film, so there were definitely many flaws in the editing and post-production. In fact, it might even need to be res hot. Regardless of everything, she wanted Mo Ting to give her an answer. Was this film good or not? Leave it here. Mo Ting said gently. It seemed he was trying to lower her anxiety. Take a deep breath. Don't give yourself too much pressure. Tang Ning held onto Mo Ting's hand and nodded. I trust you. If worst comes to worst, I'll just have to start all over again. It's okay. I won't. Trust me, okay? Tang Ning didn't know when Mo Ting was going to watch the film, but she was looking forward to his reaction. But, even before she went to bed, Mo Ting did not give her any hints. Could it be that he had been dealing with work the entire time he was locked up in the study room? Or could it be that after watching the film, he felt it was bad and didn't know how to explain it to her? Tang Ning originally wanted to ask him, but Yen Er had a fever. After coaxing her daughter to sleep, Tang Ning also fell asleep. At this time, Mo Ting finished taking care of his wife and daughter, and headed into the study room to watch the film. He was the main character in this film, so it was a strange feeling. So he had to get rid of all distractions and place himself in the audience's shoes in order to give an objective review. The entire structure of The Ant Queen had been adjusted. It had changed from a romantic sci-fi film to an adventure between a father and daughter. At the beginning of the film, Coco was kidnapped and the kidnappers ran away with her. But along the way, they bumped into a pedestrian. However, the pedestrian was extremely strange. It had a transparent body. The kidnappers cursed a few times before they ignored the person they bumped into and ran away. But they had no idea that after they left, the person they bumped into actually shed a layer of human skin. It was a sign of termites eating away at the flesh of a living person. As for the person that the kidnappers saw, his entire body had been hollowed out by the termites. All that was left was his head. Seeing this, Mo Ting paused for a moment. Because the first scene had already given him goosebumps. Tang Ning's post-production team actually managed to achieve such a high level of special effects. They made the termites' bodies so transparent that it was disgusting. In the past, a lot of American sci-fi films were set in the future, not on another planet or a few hundred years in the future. But Tang Ning and Qiao Sun directly placed something like this in the real world. It was similar to the nightmarish python films that they had seen when they were young. It was so realistic that it felt like they were about to find a python under their bed. It made them break out in a cold sweat. Afterwards, the kidnappers arrived on a deserted island. This mysterious island was based on a mysterious tribe from the real world. But the grandeur of the island did not lose out to the atmosphere created by a Hollywood blockbuster. Soon, 2 hours had passed. Mo Ting didn't know why, but after finishing the movie in one go, he turned off his computer. He needed to calm down. Although it wasn't hard to see the difference between Qiao Sun and Nziheo's filming techniques, it wasn't that important to him. Mo Ting tried to calm himself down, but he couldn't hide the trembling in his hands. From his point of view, he had never expected Tang Ning to create something like this. How could he not be excited by this? Soon, Mo Ting returned to his bedroom. As he looked at the sleeping Tang Ning, he felt that everything she had suffered for so long was all worth it. All the pain she had endured over the past year was all worth it. The next day, Tang Ning woke up and looked at Mo Ting. He was already dressed and standing by her bed. Your post-production team did not let you down. Chapter 1040. So, Tang Ning asked nervously. You've exceeded my expectations. Mo Ting said before he turned around. He did not say much else to Tang Ning. But these few words were enough. Because this was the biggest affirmation for Tongning. After hearing this, Tongning let out a laugh. According to Mo Ting's personality, he had high expectations for everything, so he wouldn't compliment someone so straightforwardly. So, exceeding expectations was already the best evaluation he could give. He acknowledged it. What did it mean to be acknowledged by Mo Ting? He was at the top of the business world and had a high ability to evaluate films. He also had a deep understanding of films, and had an outstanding appreciation for them. How could Tongning not be excited? With this thought, Tongning jumped out of bed barefooted and ran over to Mo Ting's back to hug him. Are you serious? Mo Ting looked down at her feet. Afraid that she would catch a cold, he turned around and carried her in his arms. Even if you're at home, remember to wear shoes. Are you serious? You'll understand once you see it, Mo Ting replied. After the first trailer is edited, we can begin the test screening. Do your best to promote it and do a good job. Okay. Tongning nodded her head. No matter what kind of image she had to the public, in front of Mo Ting, she would always be a little woman that needed to be protected and loved. President Mo was satisfied with Tongning's reaction. He placed her on the sofa and returned to the bedroom to retrieve a pair of slippers for her. With Mo Ting's support, Tongning was completely relieved. But just as Mo Ting was about to leave, Tongning stopped him and asked, I forgot to ask you, does Hai Rui have the right to take back Superstar Media? The contract clearly states that within 1 year of its establishment, Hai Rui can continue to operate as long as a qualified artist signs on. Xing Lan and Luo Sheng are considered your achievements. Afterwards, you will be reviewed every 6 months. If Superstar Media faces any difficulties or can't produce any good artists, Hai Rui has the right to deal with it. No matter who holds the shares right now. No matter how your shares are distributed, Hai Rui has the final say, Mo Ting replied. This is also the reason why the board agreed to allow you to set up your own agency as an artist of Hai Rui. In other words, if you want to take back Superstar Media, all you need to do is hold a board meeting. But once you take it back, Superstar Media will no longer exist. You need to think it over carefully. Mo Ting replied in a serious and professional manner. In reality, if Tongning hadn't asked, Mo Ting wouldn't have interfered with Superstar Media's matters. As long as Hai Rui's board of directors didn't pay attention to this issue, Superstar Media would be able to continue existing for another day. In that case, let me think about it, Tongning replied. Mo Ting smiled as he lovingly rubbed Tongning's forehead. Even though both of them were in their 30s, their intimate actions made them look like they were still in a relationship. You decide. Ma Weiwei and Han Xiuqia had spent so much effort to snatch Superstar Media, but they had no idea that Hai Rui had so much to do with the establishment of Superstar Media. When Superstar Media first started, it wasn't because she wanted to be independent, but because she wanted to find artists. So everything she did was for the sake of her artists' development, and ultimately, she wanted them to enter Hai Rui. So she never imagined that the things that they had agreed on would become a weapon that she could use to slap herself in the face. However, she wasn't sure if Long Jie and Lin Qian could accept the disappearance of Superstar Media. Superstar Media had a glorious past. Although it only lasted for a short period of time, it still created Xing Lan and Luo Sheng. As for Luo Yinghong, she had always worked hard. Especially during the turbulent times of Superstar Media's later years, she did not rely on Superstar Media at all. Instead, she obtained a lot of resources on her own. As long as she made the appropriate arrangements, Luo Yinghong wouldn't have any complaints. That morning, Long Jie arrived at Hyatt Regency. Tongning explained the relationship between Superstar Media and Hai Rui to her, and asked for her opinion. If you agree, Hai Rui's team will convert your shares and transfer them to you, including Lin Qian's shares. I've already given my shares to Han Xiuqia. Long Jie replied disappointedly. You can just give them to Lin Qian. I don't have the right to accept them. Does that mean you agree? I think returning to being your assistant is more suitable for me. I'm sure you're aware of Lin Qian's situation. After all, she's about to become a mother, and the Li family should avoid arousing suspicion. So I think Lin Qian can change careers. That's why I agree, Long Jie replied. At least, it's better than letting those two jerks continue to abuse her. Tongning looked at Longjie. Although Longjie tried her best to hide it, Tongning could still see the tears in her eyes. That's true. No matter what you do, it's better to be my assistant. That way, you can hold your head high. Let me show you something. After speaking, Tongning showed Longjie the finished product of the Ant Queen. As for Longjie, she represented a different level of viewers. If Mo Ting represented professionalism, then Longjie would be able to directly tell Tongning if she was going to be liked by the audience. As expected, Longjie's gaze was immediately drawn to the screen. However, the first scene made her eyes open wide. Is this the film you and Xiao Sun starred in? Didn't you say it was just a promotional clip? Has the finished product already been released? You'll know after you watch it. This is the first version. Longjie was ecstatic. After waiting for so long and enduring so many difficulties, she was finally going to see the finished product. How could she not be excited? She was the same as Tongning. Seeing Longjie's reaction, Tongning wanted to comfort her. She knew that Longjie had done a lot for Superstar Media. A lot. So even if Hai Rui took back the film, Tongning was still going to attend the board meeting and help Longjie fight for the rights. However, she didn't have anything to negotiate with at the moment, so she didn't want to give Longjie an empty promise. Longjie's taste in movies was very general. She only looked at films with high ratings, regardless of genre. She didn't reject anything as long as it was interesting. So allowing Longjie to watch The Ant Queen was also a form of vetting. Throughout the entire film, Longjie remained in a highly nervous state. At times, she would break out in a cold sweat, and during dangerous moments, she would grab onto Tongning and shake her back and forth. You scared me to death. It wasn't until the final scene that Longjie turned to look at Tongning and raised her thumb without saying a word. Afterwards, she patted her chest. Her heart couldn't take it anymore. That's impressive. Chapter 1041. Let me calm down for a bit. Longjie leaned back on the sofa and didn't say a word for quite some time. Her gaze was fixed on the screen. Tongning, I've watched so many movies. Honestly, out of all the domestically produced sci-fi movies I've ever seen, this is the most thrilling one. The setting, the special effects, President Mo's acting, and the little girl are amazing. Don't be so dramatic. Tongning smiled as she poured Longjie a glass of water. I'm being serious, Longjie said as she took a sip of water and patted her chest. It's amazing, I'm being serious. Is it really amazing? It's amazing, okay? With a bit of post-production, it should be even better. Longjie acted like she was injected with adrenaline as she gave the Ant Queen a high evaluation. I never expected you and Xiao Sun to do something like this. It's completely beyond my expectations. However, Xiao Sun and Nziheo's filming style is different. There are a few flaws, but it doesn't matter. That's why the Ant Queen is complete, because the two of them work together. Therefore, she could not accept any flaws in the content of the movie, except for this one. In that case, has Nziheo seen it yet? Tongning shook her head. You are the second person to see the complete film. Even I haven't seen it in its entirety yet. I can't believe you're able to resist watching something so amazing. After watching The Ant Queen, Longjie was so excited that she couldn't control herself. She never imagined that Tongning could actually produce a sci-fi film. Especially not in such a short period of time, and at such a great level. Stop bragging. Ting said that we need to do our marketing properly. So we're going to be busy for the next period of time. Tongning closed her laptop. At this moment, all she could think about was how to make the film as perfect as possible. Don't worry, this film is going to be acknowledged by the fans. Trust me. Longjie patted Tongning on the shoulder. In that case, I'll leave it to you to work hard. Just as Longjie was about to nod her head, she suddenly felt her stomach churn. So, she rushed into the bathroom as Tongning followed behind. Are you pregnant again? No, I went to do a stomach check with Lu Che, but I haven't received the results yet. You're clearly pregnant. What does it have to do with your stomach? Tongning glared at her and shook her head. It seems I'll need to find a temporary assistant. Long Jie froze for a moment as she thought back to her previous periods. No, I have to buy a pregnancy test. You might as well ask Lu Che to accompany you to the hospital. Tang Ning handed the phone back to her. After receiving it, Long Jie warned in a serious tone. Even if I'm pregnant, I can still help you in the early stages of pregnancy. So don't look for a temporary assistant for now. Got it, Tang Ning replied with a smile. Long Jie rushed out of Hyatt Regency. At this time, Tang Ning gave An Zihao a phone call. The film is out. Send it to me, An Zihao said before he hung up the phone. He also wanted to know how Tang Ning had completed the post-production in such a short period of time. If she only had 50% special effects, there was no way she would be able to change the image of a domestic sci-fi film. In fact, she would become a laughingstock. Tang Ning was very careful as she sent the first version to An Zihao. Her main task at the moment was to improve and edit it. Long Jie's stomach wasn't feeling well, but she never considered the possibility that it was because she was pregnant. This was in line with her carefree personality. Plus, a lot had happened at Superstar Media during this period of time, so it was understandable that she didn't realize she was pregnant. After arriving at the hospital on her own, Long Jie originally wanted to give Lu Che a phone call, but he did not pick up. Long Jie thought he was busy, so she did an ultrasound on her own. In the end, it turned out that she was indeed pregnant. In fact, she was already 2 months pregnant. Long Jie didn't know what to say. In the past, when Mother Lu told her to give birth, she refused. But now, the baby had unexpectedly arrived. As she held on to the results, Long Jie's emotions were extremely complicated. She originally wanted to go home and think about it, but as soon as she arrived home, she found the front door wide open. As soon as she pushed it open, she found Lu Che and Mother Lu sitting on the sofa. Obviously, the atmosphere between the mother and son wasn't good. Because of this, Long Jie deliberately hid the results. Why are you back? Lu Che asked. Don't you need to take care of the madam? What's going on? Long Jie asked as she pointed to Mother Lu with her chin. You didn't tell me who you were meeting today. I simply came back to get some documents and bumped into her, Lu Che explained. Don't overthink it. I didn't ask her out. Hearing this, Mother Lu sneered. I've never heard of a mother needing her wife's permission to see her son. Lu Che, that's not what your father and I taught you. For the sake of this woman, you've abandoned your parents. You've gone too far. Why are you here today? Lu Che asked as he turned to look at Mother Lu. Xiaoman and I are both busy. We don't have time to entertain you. If you don't want your father and I, then you should at least want our son, right? Mother Lu pulled out a photo of the little baby from her bag and placed it on the glass table. You were the one who agreed to this child. Now that the child has been born and needs fatherly love, you should at least take some time to visit him. We agreed that as soon as this child was born, you wouldn't interfere with my life anymore. What about now? Lu Che asked. Plus, I don't have a son. I only have a daughter. I really don't understand what you were thinking. Why did you abandon your perfectly fine son and insist on keeping your nemesis? Mother Lu yelled as she put away the photo. This child is almost 100 days old. When that time comes, I hope you can attend a banquet so your son can live openly in the Lu family. Lu Che did not say a word. He simply pointed to the door and gestured for Mother Lu to leave. No one welcomed her. Don't come looking for me again. Keep your promise. Otherwise, I don't know what I'll do. Before Mother Lu left, Lu Che whispered in her ear earnestly. However, Mother Lu did not seem to be bothered by his words. When you see your son, you'll know how cute he is. This time Lu Che did not hold back as he yelled at Mother Lu. Get lost. Because at this moment, as a husband, all he wanted was to protect his wife. 100 days old banquet? He was indeed going to attend, but not to see his son. He was going to slap her in the face. As his mother, Mama Lu had done more than enough. Chapter 1042. What's wrong with me? Or what's wrong with my daughter? In the end, she's also a woman. She's been too greedy. We agreed that she wouldn't interfere with our lives anymore, but now, Lu Che held on to Long Jie's shoulder and smiled. Didn't we also break our promise? But this matter will be resolved sooner or later. Don't worry. Lu Che patted Long Jie on the head and pulled her into his embrace. I will never be foolishly filial. Trust me. On the day of the 100 days celebration, you should dress up properly. I'm going to take you with me. Thinking about the child, Long Jie pulled out her medical report from her bag. You're actually going to be a father again. Lu Che was a little surprised as he looked at Long Jie in surprise. Are you saying? I'm saying I'm pregnant again. After hearing this, Lu Che immediately carried Long Jie in his arms. He was just as excited as he was when it was his first time. Hurry and put me down. Lu Che did not comply. Instead, he placed Long Jie on the bed in the bedroom. This will make the show even more interesting. The mother that wanted to dominate her son ended up going against the son that wasn't willing to listen to her. Now it was time to see who won. Han Xiuqia had been arguing with Tongning's fans for a few days now, but he realized that Tongning had no intention of responding. She wasn't afraid of being slandered, she wasn't afraid of fighting, and she wasn't afraid of him and Ma Weiwei using superstar media to threaten her. So Han Xiuqia felt like all his punches were landing on cotton. He was extremely frustrated. Han Xiuqia's brother lifted his head from his busy work and laughed. Let's not talk about anything else for now. Tongning has already been married for a few years. Even if she's worthy of your love, there's no way you're going to be with her. Why can't you get over it? Brother, you don't understand. When everyone thinks this woman is kind and righteous, and you're the only one that knows she's dirty, you want to expose her true colors to the world. Aren't you tired of living such a fake life? But you're not going to hurt her by running around like a headless fly. Han Xiuqia's brother laughed. Right now, you can't do anything to her. Plus, what about your future? You don't want it anymore? Brother, you know me. If I don't tear off this woman's mask, I will never be satisfied. After hearing this, Han Xiuqia's brother nodded his head. Okay then, in order to help you return to normal, I have no choice but to compromise. If you want to find out more about Tongning and see if there are any channels, you can try sneaking into her fan club. Usually, the official fan groups are the first to receive news about her. After hearing his brother's reminder, Han Xiuqia immediately stood up from the sofa. He had a new idea. However, he was born with the protection of his older brother, so he could do whatever he wanted. But Ma Weiwei was not so lucky. After being continuously humiliated, Ma Weiwei was left with no choice but to remain in the second and third tier. With Tongning suppressing her from above, there was no way she could make it to the first tier. But any company with a brain would know the difference between the two. Since they couldn't ask Tongning for help, they might as well choose someone else. There was no need to choose a fake Ma Weiwei. Ma Weiwei's current situation was extremely awkward. She was in an awkward situation. Her agency tried to come up with a lot of ideas, but none of them were effective. This was the side effect of leeching off Tongning's popularity. When there was gain, there was loss. If they clung onto Tongning's coattails, they would eventually suffer a backlash. This was the price that Ma Weiwei had to pay. Because of Ma Weiwei's recent behavior, her agency started to look down on her. After all, they already knew that Ma Weiwei wouldn't be able to make it far. But they never expected that it would be so short. Tongning didn't need to waste a single soldier to destroy these fake Ma Weiwei's fake Ma Weiwei. So, she completely ignored the short-lived Ma Weiwei. No matter how hard she tried to frame her, Ma Weiwei's current situation has reached its limit. She has already lost the chance to make it to the first tier. So to make up for our losses, you need to introduce Ma Weiwei to some of the big shots in the industry. Do you understand what I'm saying? After hearing from her boss, Ma Weiwei's manager nodded her head. I understand. I'm glad you understand. Ma Weiwei's manager had already told her that Ma Weiwei might appear naive and innocent, but she was actually very scheming. The other reason why she was giving up on Ma Weiwei was because Tongning had evidence of Ma Weiwei and Han Xiuqia's meeting. This ticking time bomb could explode at any moment, so she needed to get out of the situation as soon as possible. Ma Weiwei had no idea that her agency had already given up on her. She was still hoping that she could continue living peacefully in the agency. As a result, The way her manager looked at her now had a trace of sympathy in her eyes. In fact, she even felt like a saint as she tried to help Ma Weiwei find a way out. Since there's no point in keeping superstar media around, why don't you sell it while it's still popular? After hearing her manager's suggestion, Ma Weiwei thought carefully for a moment. But I don't have all of superstar media's shares in my hands. You simply need to sell what you have. While superstar media is still a topic of discussion, you might be able to gain another wave of popularity by selling superstar media. Ma Weiwei thought about her manager's suggestion and felt that it wasn't a bad idea. It's not a bad idea to get some money. After all, superstar media can't do much in my hands. Help me handle this matter and release the news. Let's see who's interested. Okay, the manager nodded. What else was there to buy from superstar media? Xinglan and Luo Sheng were both at Hai Rui. All that was left was Luo Yinghong. But if it was any other company that went bankrupt, people might have scoffed at it. But this was a miracle created by Tongning. Just because it was created by Tongning, it still had its value. But just as the manager released the news, Han Xiuqia immediately gave Ma Weiwei a phone call. Have you gone crazy from thinking about money? What else am I supposed to do if I keep it? It's not like I know how to run it. Besides, Han Xiuqia, you've already given it to me. You have no right to interfere with how superstar media is handled. Are you out of your mind? If you sell superstar media, you won't even have the slightest chance of holding on to Tongning. I can't even survive right now. Why would I care if I can hold on to Tongning? After saying this, Ma Weiwei hung up the phone angrily. I'm going to sell it. Of course, as soon as she did, she became a joke that would destroy her. Chapter 1043. Have you heard? Ma Weiwei is planning to sell the shares I gave to Han Xiuqia. Long Jie said as soon as she heard the news. I agree to Hai Rui taking back superstar media. Otherwise, it would be too embarrassing for Ma Weiwei to continue causing trouble like this. I don't want our hard work to be wasted by her. Our hard work hasn't been wasted, Tongning replied. Don't forget the status that Xinglan and Luo Sheng currently have. Plus, Hong Jie doesn't need any backing. They are both hardworking people. That's what superstar media used to be. Superstar media exists because of them. Since it's now an empty shell, it no longer has any value. Do you understand? Long Jie. But since Ma Weiwei wants to make things so ugly, let's make things even uglier for her. Has anyone made a bid yet? I heard that a few big agencies are currently in contact with Ma Weiwei. They're interested in continuing superstar media's business of finding artists. Long Jie replied. What are your plans? My plan is to wait until Ma Weiwei's done negotiating with her. In fact, after receiving the money, I'll ask Mo Ting to take back superstar media. Tongning said as she prepared dinner in the kitchen. Ha ha ha. Wouldn't she become a laughingstock then? Long Jie was overjoyed at the thought of that. Isn't that what she should do? Tongning asked. Your black-bellied nature hasn't changed at all. Long Jie laughed before she suddenly remembered something important. After Long Jie finished laughing, she suddenly remembered something important. In a few nights, Lu Che and I will need to take some time off. We have some private matters to deal with. Just let me know where you're going. You don't need to ask for a special leave, Tongning agreed quickly. As Long Jie had never told anyone about her family situation, Tongning had no idea that Long Jie was currently in such a difficult situation. But the reason she was taking time off was to attend Lu Che's other son's 100-day celebration. Now that she thought about it, it was quite ironic. After Han Xiuqia received some pointers from his brother, he put in a lot of effort into Tongning's fan club. After all, the official fan club had strict management. If he wanted to sneak in, he had to pass the test of the fans. Although Mo Ting despised Ma Weiwei for selling superstar media, if he thought about it from another perspective, perhaps Ma Weiwei could use superstar media to distract Tongning and the fans and give him a chance to blend in with the fans. Hopefully, that trash can still be of some use. So, news of Ma Weiwei selling superstar media was originally only spread amongst a small circle of people. After all, ever since Tongning's return, Ma Weiwei had experienced the consequences and didn't dare to offend her again. But Han Xiuqia ended up spreading the news. This was a company that Tongning had single-handedly built. Now that rumors were spreading that Ma Weiwei was going to sell it, the people in the industry couldn't help but feel sad. It used to be such a good card, but now it has been played like this. Sigh. The rise and fall of superstars has set a precedent for the industry. As for Tongning's fans, they were naturally furious. That bitch Ma Weiwei. Don't you dare sully my Ning's heart's blood. By the way, why didn't Ning take back Superstar Media? Back then, Han Xiuqia used illegal methods to get his hands on Superstar Media, but it ended up being taken over by two bitches. It's already bad enough that he didn't develop it, but now he has no choice but to sell it. What a piece of trash. I really miss the days when my Ning was at Superstar Media. Back then, she helped Xinglan and Luosheng become the superstars and empresses they are today. But now she's going to be sold off by a fake. I'm so angry that I'm crying. Tongning did not respond to the public's comments. She was well aware of her position. Every time she stepped down from an identity, she would never turn back. Superstar Media was indeed a pity, but Tongning knew that if she wanted to change the industry, she couldn't do it on her own. In the past, she was too naive. My Ning, please say something. Even one word is enough. Seeing the fans racking their brains, Long Jie decided to pass on their wishes to Tongning. You should comfort them a little. Don't make them too sad. After careful consideration, Tongning finally agreed. So she used Mo Ting's social media account and posted a message. I stole Mr. Mo's password today and heard about Superstar Media. I'm sure Superstar Media will find a better home. Fans, don't worry. Tongning's response was indifferent, and even a little cold. After all, she didn't respond for Superstar Media. She simply didn't want her fans to be sad. After the fans saw the message, they were moved by Tongning's response. At least, they knew that Tongning had been paying attention to the matter, and wasn't indifferent. Of course, she couldn't appear too sad or passionate, because Superstar Media was currently in Ma Weiwei's hands. Ma Weiwei had her own status and pride. Trust her. I trust her too. Haze, although I want to trust her, my Ning hasn't done anything yet. It wasn't that Tongning hadn't done anything yet, but when had she ever revealed her actions to the public? Is she going to sit back and watch as Superstar Media is sold off? I'm dying of impatience. My Ning, hurry and retaliate. Tongning's fans were anxious. After all, they felt that the company that Tongning had single-handedly built was being sold off by an imitation. This was an insult to Tongning. Of course, as Ma Weiwei, she was a little excited when she saw this scene. After all, she was satisfied that she could surpass Tongning in some way. News of the matter spread like wildfire, and caused a lot of commotion. During this time, a few companies actually tried to acquire Superstar Media, and tried to use Tongning's method of finding artists again. After all, it wasn't easy to build a reputation like this. Although they didn't think that they had Tongning's ability, it was still a project that was worth investing in. I can't believe someone offered $12 million for a lousy company like this. Ma Weiwei looked at the companies that were throwing themselves at her, and couldn't help but mock. I can't tell how it's worth it. But this is a good thing for me. In that case, who do you plan to sell it to? Her manager asked. Let me have a look first. I prefer Boyi Media because they have a strong foundation. They may be of help to me in the future. From the looks of it, this is indeed the most reliable option. The manager looked at the information in her hands and nodded her head. Okay, it's decided then. I'll sell my shares as soon as possible. I don't want to have anything to do with that woman anymore. What about Han Xiuqia? Aren't you going to? Ma Weiwei's manager was implying that Han Xiuqia had given Superstar Media to her for free. Shouldn't Ma Weiwei do something about it? He did it willingly. What does it have to do with me? Ma Weiwei mocked. It has nothing to do with him. Chapter 1044. Even if Ma Weiwei wanted to give it to him, with Han Xiuqia's current net worth, he couldn't care less about a few million. What he wanted was to tear apart Tongning's fake face. So Ma Weiwei's sale of Superstar Media went smoothly. Meanwhile, Hai Rui also received news that Lu Che was in Mo Ting's office reporting to him. I received accurate information that Boyi has already drafted a contract and is preparing to hold a signing ceremony this afternoon. So, Mo Ting looked at Hai Rui's newest bodyguard and glanced at Lu Che. Do you need me to teach you something like this? Bring your lawyer there later, and make sure you handle things quickly. I still have other things to deal with later, so don't waste too much time on unimportant things. Yes, President. Lu Che immediately did as he was told. The signing ceremony was to take place at 2 p.m. inside a 5-star hotel. After hearing about this news, Tong Ning's fan club was in an uproar. After all, Tong Ning had yet to respond. Was she really going to watch as Superstar Media was sold? Is Ning going to get involved in this matter or not? I'm so anxious. I'm not going to look at the group chat anymore. I'm going to go to sleep. I really have to give it to that slut Ma Weiwei. Normally, fan clubs like this were only open to fans with experience. They had to be loyal fans and couldn't climb over the walls. Plus, they had to be able to help the fan club grow. They either had the ability to organize, or they were generous with money. But at this time, no one had any idea that a fan called Rather Be Safe and Sound had already sold her account to someone. After all, no matter how much she chased after a celebrity, it was simply a form of spiritual sustenance. Yet, someone was willing to spend hundreds of thousands or even millions to buy her account. Wasn't that like a pie falling from the sky? Above all, for a fan from an ordinary family, this was like a huge sum of money falling from the sky. In reality, before Han Xiuqia bought this account, he had put in a lot of effort to find out more about her. After all, only people with weaknesses would fall for his tricks. On the other hand, he had spent a lot of time and effort to locate this person's fan, and buy the number from her. But after logging into the official chat groups, Han Xiuqia realized that even Tong Ning's fans had no idea what she was up to. In fact, they had no idea if she still cared about Superstar Media. This hypocritical woman doesn't even care about her fans. She has no idea how stupid they are. Han Xiuqia laughed. I can't believe there are people that are willing to sacrifice their lives for her. What a scumbag. Either way, because of Ma Weiwei's betrayal of Superstar Media, he had successfully entered Tong Ning's fan club. From the looks of it, there wasn't much behind the scenes that he could see. All he could do was keep an eye on Tong Ning for now. Sooner or later, he would find something to use against Tong Ning. To Ma Weiwei, she was about to receive $12 million. This was equivalent to having half a year's worth of savings. Right now, Tong Ning's fans are trembling in anger. It seems what you've done has really triggered them. I can't even take care of myself, so why would I care about them? Ma Weiwei coldly harumphed. Meanwhile, Ma Weiwei was waiting to sign the contract at the hotel. She sat in a corner of the waiting room and lit a cigarette. However, her manager quickly put it out. You should be careful. A place like this isn't necessarily safe. Ma Weiwei obediently put out her cigarette and looked at her watch. It's about time. Let's go meet up with President Wan. The manager nodded her head and followed behind Ma Weiwei. But she was still confused. Tong Ning clearly had evidence of Ma Weiwei and Han Xiuqia's meeting, so why didn't she release it? According to Tong Ning's intelligence, she couldn't possibly ignore this matter. So why didn't she make an appearance when Superstar Media was betrayed? This didn't make sense. So, the manager prepared herself and wasn't as excited as Ma Weiwei. After all, she wasn't the one that received the money. Soon both parties arrived at the signing ceremony. It seemed, Boyi wanted to announce to the world that they had already purchased Superstar Media, so they invited a lot of reporters to witness the ceremony. Both parties had contracts in front of them and, of course, pens with feathers on them. As long as they signed the contract, everything would be in place. Everyone that followed Superstar Media closely watched the signing ceremony. After all, it wasn't long before Superstar Media changed owners again. This was something that everyone felt regretful about. It wasn't easy for Tong Ning to build up Superstar Media's reputation. Who would have thought it would be destroyed like this? I really want to set the signing ceremony on fire. Damn, I'm signing it. I'm signing it. It's over. Everything is over. Even if Tong Ning wants to interfere, There's nothing she can do. Through the screens, the fans watched as Ma Weiwei and President Wan exchanged the contract and signed their names. It was like the dust had settled. On the screen, Ma Weiwei's smile was exceptionally bright. President Wang, it was a pleasure working with you. Yes, Weiwei, it was a pleasure working with you. But just as the reporters were wondering why Tongning didn't cause a scene, Lu Che suddenly appeared on the red carpet with a team of lawyers dressed in suits and leather shoes. They were all standing in front of everyone. Lu Che. Assistant Lu, you're late. You've already signed the contract. I'm sorry for not coming out to welcome you, Assistant Lu, but everything is over. Out of politeness, President Wan immediately stepped forward and shook Lu Che's hand. Meanwhile, Ma Weiwei looked at Lu Che with a pleased expression. But as Lu Che shook the woman's hand, he said in a regretful tone, I'm sorry, your contract is illegal. That. President Wan looked at Lu Che confusedly. But we've already verified that Miss Ma Weiwei indeed has the most shares in Superstar Media. This can't be fake. It's true that she does have shares in Superstar Media. But, I'm sure you don't understand the terms between Superstar Media and Hai Rui, Lu Che laughed. He then turned around and asked for some information from the lawyers. The contract between Hai Rui and Superstar Media states that, as an artist of Hai Rui, the only reason she was allowed to set up her own company was because of certain conditions. President Wan was a little surprised. He quickly looked at the information and scanned it. Assistant Lu, I don't understand. Why can't the shares that I bought be mine? Look carefully. Hai Rui's contract clearly states that if Superstar Media doesn't perform well within 6 months and doesn't send any artists to Hai Rui has the right to take back Superstar Media. No matter how your shares are traded, Hai Rui has the final say on Superstar Media's survival. And after the unanimous decision of Hai Rui's board of directors, we have decided to take back Superstar Media. So, President Wan, I'm sorry, but your contract is invalid. Chapter 1045. No, even if what you're saying is true, why did Hai Rui only reveal themselves after we signed the contract? Is Hai Rui messing with us? President Wan said angrily. To everyone's surprise, Lu Che smiled. President Wan, please be reasonable. Hai Rui is very busy and we have our own procedures. So, it's not surprising that we waited until now to reveal ourselves. Plus, Superstar Media belongs to Hai Rui. Ever since the madam was still around, artists have been sent directly to Hai Rui. Isn't this enough to explain the situation? Most importantly, Superstar Media belongs to us. We can take it back whenever we want. What's wrong? Why did we have to choose an auspicious date? Lu Che's words were like a slap to the face. After hearing this, President Wang's face turned red. He felt like he had been played like a monkey. With all due respect, President Wan, I think Miss Ma should take the blame for betraying Superstar Media. After all, she holds the most shares in Superstar Media. Doesn't she know about the relationship between Hai Rui and Superstar Media? So if you have a temper, you can ask Miss Ma if she knew anything about this. After saying this, Lu Che turned around and said to his team of lawyers, deal with this matter quickly. Later, report back to Hai Rui. In other words, the contract in Ma Weiwei's and President Wan's hands was nothing more than a piece of scrap paper. Of course, Lu Che deliberately misled President Wan. So at this moment, President Wan looked at Ma Weiwei with a complicated expression. Miss Ma, can you explain this to me? President Wan, don't listen to Lu Che's nonsense. I really didn't know about the relationship between Superstar Media and Hai Rui. Otherwise, why would I have sold my shares? Ma Weiwei quickly explained. You need to trust me. You've already accepted the money. You should just wait for my lawyer's letter. President Wan didn't want to have anything to do with Ma Weiwei, so he turned and left. Although the media surrounded them, Ma Weiwei was the only one that was blocked. As soon as her manager saw this, she simply said, shit. Just like that, the situation took a turn for the worse. They originally thought that since Ma Weiwei had already signed the contract, there was no turning back. But who would have thought that Ma Weiwei still had a trick up her sleeve? Hai Rui was obviously doing this on purpose. They were monitoring Ma Weiwei's condition, and waiting for her to sign the contract to slap their faces and take back Superstar Media. Ma Weiwei, explain yourself. Did you know anything about the relationship between Hai Rui and Superstar Media? Ma Weiwei, do you have anything to say about Hai Rui's display of strength today? Even the reporters could tell that Hai Rui was trying to intimidate her. All Ma Weiwei wanted to do was find a place to hide and not embarrass herself like this. However, being surrounded by reporters and even pushed to the ground, she did not deserve the sympathy of others. Damn, I'm sweating profusely. Like I said, how could my Ning remain indifferent to such a matter? Even after signing a contract, they managed to turn the situation around. I have to hand it to them. Hai Rui's actions are amazing. Although it seems like they are bullying a small artist, I still want to say that they did a good job. Whether it was Mo Ting's or Tang Ning's intentions, it was obvious that the two men were on the same page. If Hai Rui stepped forward, it meant that Tang Ning stepped forward. No, if Hai Rui stepped forward, it meant that Ma Weiwei was slapped in the face. Just look at the team of lawyers that Lu Che brought with him. Ma Weiwei had been greatly humiliated. Not only her, even Han Xiuqia's illegal acquisition of Superstar Media's shares was dug up and reignited. Since the matter involved Han Xiuqia, of course, had to step onto the stage and claim that he was the victim. I've already explained it many times. I'm not familiar with Ma Weiwei and I only approached her because I wanted to use her popularity. Han Xiuqia, has your logic been eaten by a dog? You're simply talking to yourself. Firstly, why did Long Jie give up on Superstar Media and transfer her shares to you? Because of a few idolizing artists. Long Jie also mentioned that you used those artists to threaten her, so she transferred her shares to you. This is the only logical explanation that she gave you her shares for free, because she was threatened. Secondly, you claim that you're not familiar with Ma Weiwei, and that you didn't collude with her. Then you transferred your shares to her because you wanted to ride on her popularity and benefit yourself. But we all know that after you transferred Superstar Media to Ma Weiwei, you didn't manage it at all. In fact, you didn't even promote yourself. What does this mean? You didn't do it for fame and fortune. This is called logic slapping people in the face. I'm sure that, with our analysis, everyone will be able to find a loophole. But should we trust the incoherent you? Or should we trust Long Jie and Tang Ning? Lastly, let me say one last thing. Whenever something happens to Ma Weiwei, she tries to create hype because of Tang Ning. But it's not hard for a normal person to see that. Apart from annoying Tang Ning, Ma Weiwei doesn't pose any threat to her. So, why would she lower herself to deal with a fake? Not to mention, Ma Weiwei has 3 children and a husband. Han Xiuqia, if you can't find a way to cover up these loopholes, then you are lying. Faced with such a serious questioning from Tang Ning's fan, the entire fandom was shocked. This was the intelligence that a fan should have. She was able to argue, reason and anger Han Xiuqia. I don't know why this fan is typing so many words. It's too long and I don't want to read it. All I want to say is, if you're accusing me, you need to provide evidence. It seemed Han Xiuqia wanted to show everyone how shameless he was. He was the only person that could say something so disgusting. He's completely ignoring your normal questions. He's just acting shamelessly. What could they do to him? Unfortunately, the fans had no evidence. But, just because the fans didn't have any evidence, it didn't mean that Tang Ning didn't. As for Ma Weiwei's manager, after seeing the news regarding Han Xiuqia, her instincts told her that she was done for, and that she had to immediately abandon Ma Weiwei. After all, the answer to Han Xiuqia's argument with his fans was in Tang Ning's hands. In fact, the evidence was irrefutable. No wonder Tang Ning was able to maintain her composure. After all, she had evidence in her hands, so it was better to be prepared. She didn't even need to say a single word in response. Yet she was able to push Ma Weiwei and Han Xiuqia into a hopeless situation. No, Han Xiuqia didn't care about his future. Or to put it in another way, he was a cartoonist, not an artist. But Ma Weiwei was different. The manager waited in fear for Tang Ning's next counterattack. Chapter 1046. Originally, The agency wanted to give Ma Weiwei as many endorsements as they could. But as soon as Ma Weiwei's manager found out about the agency's decision, she urged them not to invest any more resources in her. Boss, although Weiwei is my artist, I am also the agency's manager. As long as there is a chance, I am willing to fight for it. But the current situation is that I would rather you give these resources to Xiaoxi. Xiaoxi is currently on the rise. With these resources, she will definitely be able to help her. She knew that, as soon as evidence was revealed, Ma Weiwei would have no choice but to go offline. Rather than that, she might as well start planning a way out. The agency's CEO looked at the manager with a complicated expression. His eyes flashed with a sense of unfamiliarity, like he had never met this person before. But her words weren't unreasonable. Although she had no feelings for Ma Weiwei, she was indeed trying to help the agency recover from losses. Since she is your artist and you made the decision, then let's do it this way. However, Ma Weiwei had no idea that this matter would be exposed to her. Ma Weiwei had never imagined that her manager, who appeared to be so naive and innocent, was actually scheming against her behind her back. So when her manager arrived at her home, she calmly sat on the sofa and suppressed the anger in her heart. She then turned to look at her manager and asked, Fofu, let's go to Canada at the end of the year to see the Aurora Borealis, okay? I'll take you with me. After all, you've been taking care of me for so long. Okay, the manager nodded. We can head out when it's time to rest. Fofu, I don't have any relatives by my side. I know that you've been taking care of me all this time. What are you talking about? It's nothing. I simply feel that you treat me really well, Ma Weiwei said with a hidden meaning. Hearing this, the manager walked over to Ma Weiwei and sat down beside her. Her attitude was sincere and serious. Isn't this what I should be doing? After all, I've always treated you like a sister. Then you've always treated me like a sister? Ma Weiwei asked her manager with a smile. Since you treat me like a sister, why would you give my resources to Xiaoxi? The manager's smiling face instantly froze. Since you treat me like a little sister, why did you tell boss to withdraw all his investments from me? The manager was stunned. Then, she lowered her head and did not look at Ma Weiwei anymore. And because of her attitude, Ma Weiwei was completely infuriated. She stood up from the sofa. I don't think I've ever mistreated you, have I? But why did you stab me in the back like this? Is it fun? Do you know that I really want to dig out your heart and see what color it is? I really didn't think about it. We spend every day together, and I earn a lot of money for you. Why? You don't think highly of me. As Ma Weiwei's tears began to roll down her face, the manager stood up. However, she did not respond. Instead, she turned to leave, but Ma Weiwei grabbed onto her arm. Why are you leaving? You want to leave just like that after messing with me? Fofu, is this how you trick your artist? Is this your professional ethics? Ma Weiwei pushed the manager onto the sofa, causing her to fall onto the sofa. She then threw a slap across the manager's face, stunning her. The manager covered her face and looked at Ma Weiwei in shock. How dare you hit me? Don't you want to stay in the industry anymore? With you around, how am I supposed to stay in the industry? Ma Weiwei crossed her arms and humphed. Did you think I shouldn't hit you? Ma Weiwei, don't forget who helped you get to where you are today. Then don't forget who asked me to get plastic surgery. If you had plastic surgery, how could you become a B-lister? If you didn't, you wouldn't even have made it to the 18th list, the manager said angrily. Plus, it's true that I have no professional ethics. But, what about you? Do you have any self-awareness as an artist? To be honest, everyone knows that you had plastic surgery to look like Tongning to earn some quick money. But now, you no longer have any value because Tongning is back. That's why I simply told the CEO what he wanted. Did you think he actually cared about you? Don't be stupid. Ma Weiwei, everyone knows that you can't become Tongning. But you don't have any self-awareness and want to compete with her. Do you think you can compete with her? Did you really think that the things that you've done were all that noble? You're being suppressed by Tongning? You're simply trying to ride on her popularity. How dare you say that she's suppressing you? Please understand your position. Tongning doesn't owe you anything, But you owe her a lot of money for bringing you on stage. After all, we've already fallen out today. From now on, there's no longer a need for us to work together. The agency has already stated that they won't be taking care of you anymore. In other words, you've officially been frozen. If you're smart enough, you'll know how to live a stable life with money. If you continue to play any tricks, don't blame the agency for being ruthless. After speaking, the manager grabbed her bag and stormed out of Ma Weiwei's home. Meanwhile, Ma Weiwei's face turned red with anger, but she couldn't find any words to refute. She was trying to ride on Tongning's popularity, yet she was doing it. In fact, she was planning to continue doing it. So what if she made a fool of herself? She still had an ally, Han Xiucha. But Ma Weiwei had no idea why her manager had given up on her so completely. She was still thinking about her ally, Han Xiucha. But she had no idea that the worst time she had ever been betrayed by her manager was when she gave Tongning evidence. And the existence of this evidence was enough to send her and her ally, Han Xiucha, to hell. She's a complete idiot. Just wait for Tongning's counterattack. This was what Ma Weiwei's manager said as she left her home. Of course, Ma Weiwei couldn't hear it. Even if she did, she didn't think that Tongning would respond to Han Xiucha, even though she had been played around by Tongning during the incident with Superstar Media. But Han Xiucha had already been arguing with Tangning's fans for a few days now, yet Tongning still hadn't stepped out to speak up for her fans. Of course, with Superstar Media's experience, no one was going to come to a conclusion so easily. After all, what if Tongning ended up slapping people in the face like she did with Superstar Media? After all, Tongning was currently living her life in a carefree manner. Whenever she came across someone that wanted to cause trouble, all she had to do was throw a slap across the face and the enemy would no longer have the strength to move. Who wouldn't accept this? Chapter 1047. On the other hand, Ma Weiwei practically had nothing to show for herself. But this made her even more dissatisfied. After all, her manager thought that she wasn't as good as the other artists in the agency. She was determined to teach her manager a lesson. But who else could she rely on? Han Xiucha was the only one she could rely on. So Han Xiucha continued to say that he wasn't familiar with Ma Weiwei, while hiding her at home. Speaking of which, nothing improper happened between the two because Han Xiucha had no interest in Ma Weiwei. But the atmosphere between the two seemed a little strange. I really admire you. I'm already at your home. Yet you can still argue with Tongning's fans. You sure have a strong mentality. Han Xiucha sat in front of his computer with a glass of red wine in his hand and a devilish smile on his face. He then put down his wine glass and pointed to his head with his index finger. What do you think arguments in the entertainment industry rely on these days? I know. It's shamelessness. As long as one's skin is thick enough, they are invincible. Ma Weiwei replied as she lay down on the sofa. Lying on the sofa, Ma Weiwei supported her head with her hand and replied, "But what if I'm photographed with you? We're already familiar with each other. So what if they take a photo?" To put it simply, Han Xiucha was selectively blind to everything. He only acknowledged what he was interested in. As for everything else, even if it was a rock, he would still ignore it. Now that I think about it, Tongning sure is scheming. She could have taken back Superstar Media from the start, but to embarrass me, she set up a trap for me to jump down. I'm now a laughingstock in everyone's eyes. Who told you to be stupid? Han Xiucha asked. Ma Weiwei pursed her lips, speechless. You're calling me stupid? You should answer the netizens' questions first. I've already told them to bring out evidence first. Plus, I'm going to create another rumor today. After speaking, Han Xiucha returned his focus to his computer. Ma Weiwei laughed. She didn't know where Han Xiucha got his energy from and why he had such a deep grudge against Tongning. If you need anything, just let me know. Han Xiucha completely ignored Ma Weiwei because he was once again firing at Tongning online. Superstar Media could have taken back the company a long time ago. Yet you insisted on framing a newcomer. Tongning, how scheming are you? Faced with Han Xiucha's provocation, Long Jie was furious. Does this jerk think we can't deal with him? That's probably how he feels. But Superstar Media has already been taken back, so all he can do is bark a little. That's right, Tongning said as she looked at the phone Longjia handed her. Don't tell me we don't plan to deal with him now? Of course, but didn't you notice that he selectively ignored these loopholes? This man has a strong mentality and is not afraid of anything. Naturally, he will say whatever he wants. So even if we need to show him evidence, we need to leave a deep impression on him. What should I do? Longjia asked. Tongning hooked her finger at Longjia. After she got closer, she leaned over and whispered something in her ear. After hearing this, Longjia's eyes lit up. After all, she and Han Xiucha already had a grudge against each other. So, how could she not be happy that she was about to retaliate? What are you waiting for? These two bitches should have been kicked out a long time ago. The main point of contention between Han Xiucha and the Tang fans was over Superstar Media's acquisition. Han Xiucha, Longjia and Tongning each had their own version of events. Although Han Xiucha's words were completely reversed, Tongning and Longjia didn't respond in time. So even after a long time, they still couldn't produce any concrete evidence. Especially when it came to Han Xiucha and Ma Weiwei's relationship. Han Xiucha insisted that he didn't collude with Ma Weiwei, and that he wasn't close with her. Because Han Xiucha didn't have any evidence, every time he was questioned, he would clamor for them to produce evidence. Evidence? Everyone assumed that Tongning had already taken back Superstar Media. Yet she still hadn't responded to Han Xiucha's accusation. But, just as Han Xiucha was about to ask the Tang fans to produce evidence, the real Longjia replied, "Did you really think that we don't have any evidence?" At that time, Ma Weiwei was sitting beside Han Xiucha. As soon as she saw this, she sat up guiltily and asked, "Does Tongning really have evidence?" "It's obvious that Tongning is playing a smokescreen to force me to back off," Han Xiucha replied confidently. Otherwise, according to Tongning, she would have shown us the evidence a long time ago. Plus, when we first met, we were so secretive that no one could have known. That's true. So let's continue wasting time with her. After speaking, Han Xiucha left a comment online. If you can produce evidence to prove that I, Ma Weiwei, have something to do with it, I will kneel down and apologize to Tongning. Hey, don't make such a big bet. Do you think I'm afraid? Han Xiucha humphed. Ma Weiwei couldn't stop this stubborn man. All she could do was watch as the post went viral. Everyone saw it. Han Xiucha said that if we can produce evidence, he will kneel down and apologize to Tongning. Longjia replied. What if Han Xiucha goes back on his word? If he does, I'll end my family line. At this time, Longjia was at a plastic surgery hospital. She had already done a thorough investigation on Ma Weiwei. Since Han Xiucha was going to die, she naturally had to follow suit. Leeching off someone else's face, leeching off someone else's popularity. The person who deserved to be beaten up the most was Ma Weiwei. Han Xiucha was only annoying on the surface, but Ma Weiwei was truly disgusting. To make the show even more exciting, Longjia deliberately hyped up the bet between her and Han Xiucha, so more people could participate. In other words, she wanted Han Xiucha to have a deep impression of her. But because Longjia refused to release any evidence, Han Xiucha assumed that she had nothing to show and was simply playing with him. Meanwhile, the onlookers also urged Longjia to quickly produce evidence to end the war of words. Especially Tongning's fans. They were completely disgusted by Han Xiucha. Longjia, I beg of you, stop holding back. If you have any evidence, hurry and show it to us. We are about to vomit from Han Xiucha. He's a jerk to begin with, yet he refuses to admit that he's a jerk. I want evidence to slap his face. Could it be that Longjia doesn't have any evidence? I'm about to lose my temper. Chapter 1048. Because of Longjia's tortoise-like speed, Han Xiucha was even more certain that Tongning couldn't produce any evidence. So, with the help of this incident, he could continue scolding Tongning for a long time. Even if the entire internet called him a jerk, so what? In reality, Han Xiucha didn't feel any shame that a normal person would have. In fact, deep down, he was actually a little happy because of this incident. Why was this the case? Everyone knew that only a child that lacked love from a young age would crave for attention. Whether it was good or bad, as long as someone placed their attention on him, then he would be considered a success. Look, everyone's looking at me. This was the difference between a person that lacked love and a normal person. Long Jie's tortoise-like speed wasn't just because she wanted to get her hands on Ma Weiwei's information. More importantly, she wanted to whet the public's appetite to the highest point. What was the highest point? It was when everyone was about to lose their patience. Long Jie has learned to trick people. If you don't have any evidence, then don't waste our time. Students study hard every day, okay? We can't afford to hurt them. It seems we've rejoiced for nothing. I thought we could shut that piece of trash Han Xiuqia's mouth. Seeing his fans giving up on themselves, Han Xiuqia felt proud. I told you a long time ago, your idol Tongning has never cared about you. Evidence? Long Jie, you need to take legal responsibility for slandering me for obtaining superstar media through illegal means. That afternoon, Long Jie crawled like a tortoise as she rushed online. Soon, she appeared on her social media page. Sorry for making everyone wait. Evidence. Where's the evidence we want? Long Jie, hurry and show us the evidence. In an instant, the public was filled with people asking for evidence. After all, a lot of people didn't like Han Xiuqia, but he was too thick-skinned to admit to anything and didn't care. So the only thing that could slap him in the face was evidence. Hee, everyone is getting impatient. Hurry up and show us the evidence. Meanwhile, Han Xiuqia and Ma Weiwei were at home looking at Long Jie's social media page. Did she really have evidence? That was impossible. However, Long Jie did not respond. Instead, she released a series of videos and placed them on the homepage for everyone to see. Looking at the time, it's obvious that Han Xiuqia just signed with Superstar Media. Look, these two bitches are having a rendezvous at night. They've even been photographed, and they're still shamelessly saying that they're not familiar with each other. Han Xiuqia, Ma Weiwei, you two bitches, look carefully. Isn't this a stone hammer? Is it evidence? Don't tell me it's not you two bitches in the video. After seeing the video that Long Jie posted, Han Xiuqia immediately jumped up from the sofa. At this time, Ma Weiwei suddenly remembered something. Apart from the two of us, the only people that know about our meeting are our managers. Plus, I just had a falling out with my manager. Han Xiuqia glared at Ma Weiwei. At this moment, he was speechless. Wasn't this the so-called pig-headed teammate? You can't blame it all on me, right? Don't you remember it yourself? I never expected Tongning to be so ruthless. Of course, Han Xiuqia wouldn't blame himself. So who was to blame? He could only blame Tongning for being too despicable. Afterwards, Long Jie explained, the video was obtained from an interview, so I'm sure it's enough to explain a few things. As for Han Xiuqia, his words didn't match up and he lied to the public. This is an indisputable fact. I'm sure everyone is well aware of how Superstar Media ended up in your hands. Since Superstar Media has already returned to Hairue, I will no longer pursue the matter. But Han Xiuqia, everything that you and Ma Weiwei have done and slandered Tongning, you will have to pay the price. You keep saying things and throwing all kinds of dirty water at Tongning. From today onwards, that will be the end of it. If you still want to fight, Hairue's team will be waiting for you. Don't forget, you personally promised that if we could provide you with evidence, you would kneel down and apologize to Tongning. I wonder if that bet still stands. Long Jie no longer planned to pursue the matter with Superstar Media. Everything had already gone with the wind. Now the most important thing was to make sure the two bitches received the punishment they deserved. Because the matter was blown out of proportion and Han Xiuqia personally said that he would kneel down and apologize, it was now the hottest topic online. Now Tongning and Long Jie were no longer the only ones that were on the receiving end. Because of this, the fans were extremely satisfied. That scared me. I almost thought that Long Jie didn't have any evidence. It was all a false alarm. I'm impressed. Tongning always keeps us in suspense when she puts out evidence. But I'm going to cheer you on like crazy. That crazy Han must be dumbfounded. He never expected that Tongning would actually have evidence of the two bitches meeting. Ha ha ha, I'm so satisfied that I can eat 2 more bowls of rice tonight. I'm satisfied, time to go offline. Seeing the netizens begging for Han Xiuqia to kneel down and apologize, Ma Weiwei looked at him awkwardly. Don't tell me. Han Xiuqia scoffed. But you said it yourself. If you go back on your word. Ma Weiwei was implying that if Han Xiuqia went back on his word, things would get ugly. You should take care of yourself. Han Xiuqia brushed Ma Weiwei off half-heartedly, because he hadn't thought of a solution yet. He was indeed the one who said those words. If he didn't do as he was told, he wouldn't have the confidence to cause trouble for her in the future. But kneeling and apologizing to the woman he hated? Ma Weiwei knew that Han Xiuqia was in a dilemma. He was too confident. So confident that he had no idea this was a trap set up by Tongning and Long Jie. Push the matter to the cusp of the storm, and then deliver a fatal blow. No, this wasn't even a fatal blow, because there was a follow-up. Ma Weiwei didn't think that Long Jie would let her off so easily, did she? After Han Xiuqia's brother saw the drama online, he immediately gave his brother a phone call. Do you want me to step out and help you with PR? No need. Whether you admit to your mistake or not, your image has already collapsed in everyone's hearts. Why waste your energy on it? Han Xiuqia's brother asked as he raised an eyebrow. Leave it to me, I'll settle it for you. Han Xiuqia sat on the sofa and looked at the excitement in Tongning's fan club. He knew he couldn't let Tongning get away with it, so in the end he did not insist. Meanwhile, Han Xiuqia's brother personally recorded a video of the incident and apologized on behalf of his immature brother, taking the blame. Chapter 1049. If Han Xiuqia was dealing with another agency, he might have been able to resolve the matter with a little bit of sincerity. But he obviously couldn't because he was dealing with Tongning. Seeing how Han Xiuqia dealt with the matter, the netizens began to mock him even more. They also expressed that they couldn't accept Han Xiuqia's cowardly actions. He's not a man at all. I've never seen a man that's not a man. At this time, Long Jie directly asked, why don't President Han kneel on Han Xiuqia's behalf? Originally, Han Xiuqia was unreasonable. But after the evidence was revealed, he completely disappeared from the internet. Of course, it wasn't impossible for him to disappear. As long as he appeared again, Long Jie would definitely point to the past. No matter what he did, Long Jie would simply reward him with one sentence. Did you kneel down and apologize? Plus, even if he appeared again, no one would believe him. Han Xiuqia had simply disappeared into thin air. He didn't apologize, he didn't say a word, and he even let his brother take the blame. This was the type of man that women hated the most. Perhaps, even Han Xiuqia never imagined that he would be so despicable, because he was afraid of admitting to his mistakes. At this moment, all he had in his sights was Tongning's fan club. Regardless of whether Han Xiuqia responded or not, the jerk was now like a rat on the street. But what about Ma Weiwei? In this matter, she didn't seem to be as outstanding as Han Xiuqia. But didn't the fact that she once rode on the popularity and used it to create posters mean that she didn't care? Of course, that wasn't possible. It was simply because Tongning hadn't settled the score yet, so Ma Weiwei thought that Tongning would let her off. But in reality, Tongning always pulled out the weeds from the roots. After all, when Ma Weiwei used her, she never held back. Ma Weiwei's fire simply hadn't been ignited yet. But before Long Jie attended Lu Chei's son's 100-day celebration, she was bound to release the news. Did Ma Weiwei think that she was lucky? In reality, her misfortune had only just begun. Plus, Long Jie's status was much higher than Han Xiuqia's. Not to mention, Long Jie had Tongning backing her up. Before leaving for the party, Long Jie gave Tongning a phone call. Everything has been pretty much taken care of. All you need to do is wait and watch the show. You and Lu Chei can rest assured. Don't tell me I can't do without you. In reality, Lin Qian was currently at Hyatt Regency. She had just received compensation from Hai Rui, but she did not accept it. If Superstar Media has taken it back, then so be it. Why must they be so polite? It's not because I'm being polite, have you forgotten? These shares are the dowry I'll give you when you get married. Let's not talk about anything else, but I will definitely settle this with you. Tongning replied. After hearing this, Lin Qian understood this was Tongning's sincerity, so she did not insist. It's only been a few days since I last saw you, and so many things have happened. That Ma Weiwei shouldn't she also? Sure. Tongning gestured for Lin Qian to keep quiet and focus on the show. From Tongning's expression, Lin Qian could tell that Ma Weiwei's fate wasn't going to be simple. So she was relieved. After all, Tongning couldn't be bullied by anyone, especially by those that leached off of her popularity and sucked her blood. Afterwards, Lin Qian and Tongning sat back and watched the show unfold. Ma Weiwei never imagined that photos of her before her plastic surgery would end up being leaked. Although she had done enough PR and controlled almost all of her pre-debut photos, she was still so scared that her hands trembled when she saw the photos. She indeed needs plastic surgery to become famous. No wonder she had plastic surgery to look like Tongning. Without plastic surgery, she's just a passerby. Ma Weiwei looks like this, yet she still wants to stay in the entertainment industry. I'm really impressed by her courage. Ma Weiwei's face has been restored to its original state. From now on, I won't feel disgusted whenever I look at her. After all, no matter how much she looks like Tongning, she still used a knife. Ugly people always cause trouble. What was the thing that a woman feared the most? It was having a lack of confidence in her own appearance, especially when she was being judged by others. Even the slightest bit of disdain could cause her confidence to completely collapse. So when Ma Weiwei saw her original photos being circulated online, she lost the courage to leave the house just like Han Xiuqia. She was in an even more pitiful state than Han Xiuqia. Her real face had been posted online. So, how could she continue to leech off of Tongning's popularity? As a result, Long Jie successfully completed a double kill. Ma Weiwei and Han Xiuqia were eliminated. No, Ma Weiwei was indeed eliminated. As long as she had a little bit of pride left in her, she wouldn't cause trouble again. But Han Xiuqia, on the other hand, was still in Tongning's fan club. Tongning didn't like to report bad news. Sometimes, when she received good news, she would ask Long Jie to share it with everyone. She simply hoped that Han Xiuqia wouldn't find out that her new film had already been completed and was about to be released. For Ma Weiwei to get to where she was today, she must have realized her retribution. So, on social media she simply said, "It turns out, the entire world knows they're going to retaliate, but I'm still dreaming." When one thought about it, Ma Weiwei was quite pitiful. She was tricked by her agency into getting plastic surgery to earn some quick cash. Although she went overboard and offended Tongning, the agency still had to take responsibility from the beginning. After all, they had always walked a crooked path. Now that they were exposed, they kicked Ma Weiwei aside. It was quite ironic. So the netizens did not make things difficult for Ma Weiwei. After all, everyone knew who leaked her photos. But Long Jie and Tongning never allowed the public to attack Ma Weiwei. Instead, they quietly exposed her. It was enough for her to learn a lesson. This was the last bit of mercy that the public, Long Jie and Tongning could give. This woman, if you want to say how evil she is, she actually isn't. As an artist, it's normal for her to ride on others' popularity. It's just, this woman has walked a bit off the beaten path. From now on, I hope she lives a good life. As long as she doesn't come out, I won't slander her. She messed with everyone but not Tongning. She asked for it, so she doesn't deserve any sympathy. The two jerks are finally gone. I suddenly feel like Beijing's sky has turned blue. I hope the two of them don't come out again. I'm serious. With their level, Tongning doesn't even want to show her face. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.